No. No, stay where you are. Do not break the stillness of this moment, for this is a time of mystery, a time when imagination is free and moves forward swiftly, silently. This is the haunting hour. Murder wears a strange mask. Every highway and byway is destiny's trail, and where it leads and what lies ahead is destiny's secret. Down a dark road speeds a car, bearing in it two who are destiny's children. Oh, they don't know it. To themselves, they're two people on their way to a masquerade ball. Steve Raymond and his fiancée, Marsha Phillips, heading for an evening of gaiety and laughter. But they are destined to spend a strange, macabre evening in fear. For one of the guests at the masquerade is dead.
You're rather fetching in your gypsy costume, Marsha.
In a moment, I'll be tempted to read your mind.
Well, there isn't much I can hide from you, darling. Your womanly instincts are quite remarkable.
Especially where Joan Williams is concerned?
Oh, now look here, Marsha. I must admit this magician's disguise of mine isn't too effective. For one thing, it hasn't helped me to change your disposition.
Steve.
But if you will, my dear, please try to check your suspicions at the door. Fortunately, we're not married as yet, and Ben Carter's masquerade promises too good a time for you to spoil.
At the risk of being stubborn, dear, I'm curious to know what you see in her. Or perhaps you can tell me why Roy Benson is still madly pursuing her.
I guess he never stopped loving her. He was her first husband.
Just the same, Steve, dear. If I so much as see you go near her tonight, I might be tempted to drop a potent mixture in the punch bowl.
Oh, be careful with your predictions, darling. You're a gypsy fortune teller tonight, and I'd rather not see you proven accurate.
That's up to you, Steve.
You're a little early with your masquerade, Marsha. Wait till we get to Ben's place. Then you can feed strychnine to Joan Williams and all my other lots.
Hello, Steve. Marsha. Oh, pardon me. I'm not supposed to know who you are.
That wasn't fair, Ben.
What else could we expect from my partner, dear? He knows every hair on my head.
Well, don't fear. I won't give you away. Well, you both look perfect.
You've adopted a rather simple costume, Ben.
I've used this clown suit for 15 years. It's a durable disguise.
Good heavens. What's that fellow in the black tights and shirt supposed to be?
No, he's posing as the royal executioner.
Who can it be, Steve?
It's hard to tell from here. I don't seem to recognize him.
Steve, I've simply got to find out who that executioner is.
Oh, now, Marsha.
He's just over there.
Can't you wait till midnight?
Quiet, here he is. Why, I beg your pardon?
Good evening.
That's a very unusual costume you're wearing.
Thank you. I merely borrowed it from a friend of mine. I hope it's effective.
Your voice, it's quite familiar.
Oh, now, Miss Phillips, don't you recognize Steve Raymond's rival for Joan Williams' hand?
Roy Benson.
Of course. I follow Joan everywhere, and especially on a night such as this. I couldn't resist seeing her dressed as Cinderella.
And in a very charming costume, too, no doubt.
Oh, but naturally, my wife, I beg your pardon, my former wife, has a talent for being beautiful.
Now, what sort of executions do you have a hand in, Roy?
Oh, no special method, Steve. I've really no preference.
Hush, gentlemen. The dream approaches.
Cinderella.
Oh, my, what a charming trio. A magician, a gypsy, and an executioner.
You're looking lovely, my dear.
Thank you, Roy. How are you, Marsha? I don't know. As yet. How are you, Steve, dear?
Looking for a glass slipper, Cinderella?
And perhaps a way to break our engagement.
Perhaps.
Quiet, everyone. Ben's getting ready to speak.
Ladies and gentlemen of the masquerade, As master of the revels, I welcome you to the ball. You've been asked here, disguised in the roles for which you have all longed these many years. You're all strangers to one another, your identity known only to yourselves. Thus you will remain till midnight. But till that hour, the mystery of the unknown is yours. The excitement of living a dream is in your hands. I see a magician here, a peasant, a statesman, a clown such as myself, and, oh, there's Cinderella, who at midnight will find that dreams must end. But until the clock strikes, give yourselves to music and wine and dancing.
Now, there you are, my friends. The wiles of a sorcerer are many.
Oh, show us another trick, magician.
No, I must put my knives away now. One more trick, and your eyes will be quicker than my hand.
Steve, I've got to see you.
Oh, want to know how I did that last trick?
Come here, quickly.
What's the matter, Ben?
There's something upstairs I want you to see.
Can't it wait?
You had better come now.
Whatever it is, you're guarding it like a state secret. Ben, don't look so pale. It can't be as bad as all that.
Were you up here earlier this evening?
Yes, I think so.
Were you in the library?
You must have been spying on me. I was there a little while ago. Where are we going?
To the library. Here we are. There. In front of the fireplace.
No, it can't be.
Unfortunately, it is. Joan Williams. Stabbed to death.
I don't believe it.
It's not an illusion, Steve. It's real. I found her like this a few minutes ago.
But how did it happen?
I thought you could tell me.
What are you talking about?
Look at that knife closely.
Good heavens.
Isn't that one of the knives that you were using in your demonstration tonight, Steve?
Oh, you're talking nonsense, Ben. I didn't kill her.
Who said you did?
Well, you inferred it. Oh, what's the sense of this wrangling? Joan's dead. I didn't do it, but I want the man who did.
There's a set of prints on the knife handle, Steve. If they match yours, well, that's the answer.
You're pretty well convinced that I murdered her, aren't you, Ben?
We'll let the police decide that. I'm going to call them.
Well, no, you can't, Ben. You've got to give me a chance first.
No? What do you mean?
I swear to you that I didn't do it, Ben. Now, you've got to let me find who did. Just a few hours, that's all I need. Just till midnight.
All right, Steve. Till midnight, then.
Hello, darling. Who's in the library with you?
Oh, come in quickly.
Ben told me that you were hiding away in here. No! Steve, you killed her.
No, I didn't do it. I'm wondering if you did.
Don't be a fool, Steve. You can't get away with murder that easily.
I had no motive, Marsha. Unfortunately, you did.
Does anyone else know she's dead?
Ben found the body.
And he's called the police.
No, he's given me till midnight to find the murderer.
Oh, what a complete waste of time.
Not altogether, Marsha. Have you forgotten your prediction earlier this evening?
That's of no importance. I'll admit I'm glad she's dead. But my wishing it didn't put that knife in her back.
That remains to be seen, darling.
Let's get it over and said with, Steve. I hope you're guilty. I hope they hang you. You've treated me like a fool. You've asked for everything you're going to get.
I didn't know you could be so vicious, Marsha.
I only hope that I'll be able to testify against you.
Thank you, my sweet.
I'm not interrupting, am I?
No, I'm leaving. Good luck, Steve.
Don't go too far away, Marsha. You might be very helpful to me.
I'll be here when the police come.
So long, Marsha.
Well, we both lose, Roy.
Yes, so Ben told me. He also said he thinks you did it, but I don't agree.
Thanks. But how about some evidence?
Haven't you any ideas at all?
No, but that executioner's costume of yours worries me.
I'm sorry, Steve, but this is my night off. My record's as clean as yours.
How about Ben?
I can't figure out a motive for him.
Well, he's my business partner. He might be trying to pin this on me.
Very weak, old pal.
Did you have a motive?
Well, I wanted her to marry me again, but she refused. Said she was waiting for you to make up your mind.
The police could claim I killed Joan to get her out of the way. Oh, they'll dream up some motive.
I tell you what I'll do, Steve. I'll come in with you. I don't think you did it, and I've as much at stake as you in finding the murderer.
Thanks, Roy. But we've got to work fast.
I want to talk to Marsha. She had a pretty good motive for killing Joan.
Yes, jealousy is still fashionable, Roy. That's a good lead.
You'd better quiz Ben. See what you can find.
He's been pretty anxious to call the police. I wonder what he's hiding.
Suppose you rattle a skeleton or two in his closet, Steve. Maybe we'll come up with a murderer.
Any clues so far, Steve?
It's not very encouraging, Ben.
Remember our agreement. Midnight's the deadline.
You know, Ben, I've completely neglected to ask you some rather important questions.
No. What's on your mind, Steve?
Well, for one thing, how come you happened to find Joan's body?
I'll tell that to the police.
Oh, I'm trying to clear myself of suspicion of murder, Ben.
Make a very bad debating partner. Why not question Roy Benson?
Now listen, Ben, this is no idle business transaction. You've accused me of murder. You might be decent enough to explain why I should be so certain of your innocence.
Suppose I call the police. Right now, Steve, let them settle the question of where the guilt belongs.
You promised to hold off till midnight.
Very well, then, but you might do better trying to clear yourself than just standing here arguing.
Goodbye.
Where are you going?
I have an appointment with an executioner. Want to come along?
Is Roy waiting in the library?
Yes. That's strange.
What's wrong?
The door's locked, but the key is in the lock.
Here, let me open it. Here we are.
Ben, look, there by the table.
Great Scott. It's Benson.
We're too late. He's dead.
It's horrible. The bullet did a thorough job.
Strange we didn't hear the shot.
I used a silencer. It's still on the gun.
No, don't touch it, Ben. Leave it for the police.
I want to apologize, Steve. You're completely innocent.
How do you know?
Well, it's obvious now. Roy killed Joan probably because he was incensed at her refusal to marry him again. Then he committed suicide at the realization of what he'd done.
Well, that's a logical explanation, Ben, and it clears me completely, but I can't accept it.
Why not?
Because Roy didn't commit suicide.
Steve, look at the layout of the room yourself. The gun's in his right hand. He was shot in the right temple. And the body of his victims beside him.
Very neat deduction, but you left out the one flaw.
What's that?
The door to this room was locked from the outside. Obviously, death was instantaneous. If Roy had shot himself, he couldn't have locked the door from the other side.
Yes, you're right. I unlocked that door myself.
Yes, Roy Benson was murdered, and the killer must have been frightened away while he was locking the door.
Then you're still implicated. But it's a rather gruesome joke on you. Somebody killed the executioner.
A murderer has a sense of humor. Fine. Maybe my laugh's coming up.
Destiny's highway has led Stephen Raymond and his fiancée, Marsha Williams, to the home of Steve's partner, Ben Carter, where a masquerade ball is in progress. It is a house of gaiety. Music and laughter pervade the lower floor. Yes, downstairs there is revelry, but upstairs, death. In the library lie the bodies of Joan Williams and Roy Benson, her ex-husband. Steve Raymond, who has come to the masquerade dressed as a magician, is the chief suspect. For while Roy Benson was shot, the knife found in Joan Williams' body was used in Steve's magic act. Ben Carter, Steve's host, has promised to wait until midnight before calling the police in order that Steve might find sufficient evidence to exonerate himself and perhaps find the real murderer. Steve is alone with Ben Carter. They're talking.
It's not very far from midnight, Steve.
Well, until they unmask Ben, I have a chance to find the murderer. The same person killed them both.
The knife that killed Joan was yours. But whose gun was it?
Well, the police can trace the registry.
That's impossible. The serial number was filed off.
How do you know that?
I examined the gun while we were upstairs.
But I had told you not to, Ben. I wanted the police to find things untouched.
I was only trying to help you, Steve. After all, you're the only one on whom the police can build a case. Remember, it was your knife that killed Joan.
Well, whoever stole that knife from me killed Joan and Roy.
Better use your magician's get-up of yours, Steve, and see if you can pull a murderer out of your top hat.
Yes, I'm going back to the party and do just that. madam. I'm a successful stockbroker. Same thing.
How about another chick?
Oh, I'm sorry, but I've concluded my last performance. For a long while, I'm afraid.
Steve, I've got something to tell you.
What is it?
I can't tell you here. Come into the next room.
All right.
Steve, I think I know who killed Joan and Roy.
Good girl. Who?
Ben Carter.
Are you sure?
Practically. I was in the library looking at Joan's body, and I heard somebody in the next room. I turned out the lights and hid behind a large chair next to the fireplace.
Did he come into the library?
Yes. It was pitch black without the lights, but he had a flashlight with him. He played the light all over the floor as if he were looking for something.
Do you know what it was?
No, Steve. I was afraid to look out from behind the chair for fear he'd see me.
How long was he there?
Oh, about 5 minutes. I don't think he found what he was searching for, though. When he left the room, he muttered something about coming back later.
Did you come right down here after he left?
Oh, no. Right after he left the room, I went to the phone and called the police.
Now, why did you do that?
Well, I found the murderer, so it was my duty to notify them.
How do you know Ben didn't hear you call?
Oh, I waited until he was far enough down the hall. I even kept the lights out in case he happened to look back.
How long ago did you phone?
Just a few minutes ago. I came right down here to you after I called.
I'll have to work fast. Come along, Marsha. I want to look at that library. Oh, no light showing under the door. Let's go in.
Nothing's been touched since I was here.
Now, what could Ben have been searching for?
Well, perhaps he dropped something when he killed Joan and Roy.
Yes, possibly, but what?
Steve, look. There. Under that chair near the fireplace.
Yes, I see it.
What is it?
A large black button.
I recognize that. Didn't you notice that one of the buttons on Ben's clown suit was missing?
Yes, you're right, Marsha.
There. Doesn't that prove his guilt?
Well, not necessarily. The thing that still interests me is his certainty that my fingerprints are on the handle of the knife that killed Joan.
Well, how could it have been used without disturbing your prints?
By wearing gloves and using the blade part of the knife for throwing.
That's very clever of you, darling.
If my prints are still on that knife handle, they were placed there when I used the weapon in my little act downstairs. When it was stolen from me, the prints were very carefully preserved.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to make a call, try to get some information on fingerprints.
Let me have the inspector, please.
Wait a minute. Someone's on the other extension.
Who is it?
Ben. He's decided not to wait till midnight as he promised me. He's a little worried. Listen.
Inspector Bolden, this is Ben Carter, 116 Ocean Road.
Yes, Mr. Carter.
There have been 2 murders in my house. You'd better send someone out immediately.
2 murders? Both at the same time?
No, they happened separately.
What's going on up there?
Please hurry. The murderer is still in the house. I'll watch him till you get here.
We'll lock the doors. I want no one to leave before I get there.
Crazy? He's giving himself up.
I'm afraid he's not, Marsha. He's determined to prove me guilty.
Oh, he hasn't a chance.
Hasn't he? What proof do we have?
Well, I saw him in this room.
When Joan and Roy were killed?
Of course not. But why was he sneaking around in here looking for this lost button?
Well, whatever the reason, I'm afraid my goose and I are cooked quite thoroughly.
Oh, no, you're not.
Hey, where are you going?
Quiet. There's someone at the door.
I think you ought to know I called the police. They'll be here shortly.
Yes, I know. We heard you on the phone, Ben.
I wouldn't advise either of you to leave the house.
Why don't you stop all this pretense, Ben? We know you killed Joan and Roy.
Marsha's still loyal to you, Steve.
I was behind this chair earlier this evening when you came up here prowling around with a flashlight.
Well, why didn't you help me find what I was searching for?
Was it this?
Yes. Yes, the button from my costume. Please give it to me.
Oh, no. This goes to the police.
Well, Oh, don't be absurd, Marsha. I lost it up here before the ball began.
I'm sorry to contradict you, Ben, but it was on your clown suit when we first came tonight.
Well,
Thanks for calling the police, Ben.
All right, I admit I lost it up here after Joan and Roy were killed. I wanted the button back because I knew it would look suspicious if the police found it.
Mm-hmm.
It's midnight. I have to end the masquerade.
Yes, and we mustn't delay the master of the revels.
Coming, Steve?
Yes, might as well, Ben. We'll keep an eye on one another until the police decide which one of us is the murderer.
Ladies and gentlemen of the masquerade. The time has come when you must leave the mystery of the unknown and return to the reality of the present. The peasant will become a wealthy man, the clown a respected philosopher, the beggar a statesman. This is the moment. Unmask, please.
Ben, the police are in the hall.
Take care of them for a minute, Steve. I'll be right back.
Oh, I'll give them all the clues they require.
Well, what's the delay?
Mr. Carter will be here in just a moment, Inspector. My name's Steve Raymond. I believe that Mr. Carter considers me the principal suspect.
Did you do it?
No. I hope you'll believe me.
I believe no one, only evidence.
Would you care to see the bodies?
I want to see Mr. Carter first.
Come on, Inspector. That came from the garden.
And that's where we're heading for. Let's go.
Oh, it was horrible.
All right, now, calm yourself. We've no time for hysteria.
Well, I was sitting here under this arbor when I suddenly heard someone moving in back of me. I turned around quickly and saw Ben come toward me. That gun was in his hand.
What did he say to you?
Oh, his face had sort of a crazy look on it. He told me that I was the only one who could possibly testify against him. He came closest to me and brought the gun down as if to strike me.
Did he hit you?
No, I dodged the blow and I grappled with him for the gun. Finally, I managed to get possession of it. And I shot him. It was the only thing I could do.
Let me see that gun, Mr. Raymond.
Here you are, Inspector.
Will you hold the flashlight, Mr. Raymond?
Surely.
Now, just a little fingerprint powder over the butt of the revolver. There we are. Now, do you see the impression?
Yes, there are two distinct sets of prints on the butt.
Just as I told you, Ben and I fought for the gun.
Is your conclusion the same as mine, Mr. Raymond?
I'm afraid it is, Inspector. Marsha lied in her story.
That's ridiculous, Steve. Don't you see the two sets of prints?
That's just it, Marsha. If you and Ben had fought for possession of the gun, the two sets of prints would have been smudged and blurred. Not distinct and clear as they are now.
It was very convenient of you to tell that story. Why'd you try to kill this man?
Try. He's dead, isn't he?
Not quite. Fortunately for him, one bullet missed and the other just creased his scalp. He'll be around shortly and in fine shape to testify against you.
This was your second mistake, Marsha. I first became suspicious of your sudden reformation in my behalf when you told me you dialed the police telephone number in the darkened library. I was convinced you hadn't phoned when we listened in on Ben's call to police headquarters. It was obvious from the inspector's reaction that it was the first report of the murders he had had.
Watch out, young lady. Don't make me chase you through the garden. I'm not that young anymore.
Let go of me. Go of me. Of course I killed him. Joan was a worthless fool trying to take you away from me. I stole your knife and used it the way you guessed I did. Your prints were on the handle, but Ben didn't know for certain whether they were yours.
Why did you kill Roy?
He accused me of killing Joan, and he told me that he had the proof to back up his charge, and I couldn't take a chance. If I hadn't locked the door, you would never have guessed that it wasn't suicide.
One mistake is all that's needed, young lady. Well, Mr. Raymond, I guess that's about all.
Yes, Inspector. I'm afraid the masquerade is over.
From shadows and stillness, mystery weaves a spell of strangest fascination, charging the mind with doubts and fears. For mystery is a strange companion, a living memory in the haunting hour. No, stay where you are. Do not break the stillness of this moment. For this is a time of mystery. A time when imagination is free and moves forward swiftly, silently. This is the haunting hour. Bird of Death. This is the story of a man named Spear, of a bird, a kind of carrion crow, and of a student of birds named Victor. This is also a story of Victor's uncle, Orin, but that comes later. At this moment, we are concerned only with the trio, Spear, Victor, and the bird of death, the crow.
Watch this, Victor. I'm going to get him. I wouldn't if I were you, Spear. Got him. No, you just wounded him. He's getting away. Why did you object to my shooting that bird? It's a member of the Corvus Coroni family, a kind of carrion crow. So what? Well, there's an old Indian tradition about those particular birds. A tradition, eh? Well, what is it? Not that I'm interested in those old superstitions. I would be if I were you, Spear. Why? Because, according to legend, it is the bird of death.
This is also the story of Victor's uncle, Orin, a man with a different kind of interest in birds, an interest that often took him and Spear to a certain marsh.
Are those all the decoys we brought with us, Spear?
Yes, sir.
Then roll over to the blind. Never can tell when a flight of ducks will come along.
Yes, sir.
There's that old fishing weir. It's a pity it isn't used anymore. I hate to see anything wasted.
Yes, sir.
Just a lot of stakes driven into the marsh. A fish trap. They bait it, the fish get in, and they're caught. Looks like an arrow from above.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad we put the decoys around it. It's a natural place for them. Makes the setting perfect. No duck will be suspicious of it.
Yes, sir.
You stop that infernal yes, sir. Can't you say anything besides yes, sir?
Yeah, of course, Mr. Orin. Anything you wish.
You know, you're too agreeable today, Spear. Too agreeable. There's a streak of cussedness in you. It's usually right beneath the surface, but you're covering it up today. You're covering it up real well. What's up?
Why, nothing. Nothing at all, Mr. Orin. I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't, eh? Well, most people don't know what the other fellow's talking about. That's what's wrong with the world. More people would. Hurry up, Spear. You're rowing as if we had all day.
Yes, sir.
Kankadoo, what a perfect setting that old fishing weir makes for our decoys. Why, the ducks will come right into the nozzles of our shotguns without suspecting there are any hunters around.
It's a good setup, all right.
Good. It's perfect. You know, that's what counts in the world, Spear. The setting. Give a man the right setting and he can get away with murder. Why, there's been many, Hey, Spear, you're not rowing toward the blind.
No, I'm not, Mr. Orin.
You're rowing toward the fishing weir. What's the big idea?
It's the right setting, Mr. Orin. Give a man the right setting and he can get away with murder. You said so yourself.
Murder? Murder? What are you talking about? Whose murder?
Yours, Mr. Orin.
You stop rowing. Now, Spear, I don't like this.
That's understandable. Most of us are cowards. We flinch from death. Even wealthy men like you, Mr. Orin.
Oh, stop joking.
Does this shotgun look as if I'm joking? You'll notice it's pointed right at your chest, and a shotgun at close range is a pretty messy weapon, I've read.
Why, you...
You needn't bother looking for your shotgun. It's behind me. You haven't a chance in the world of getting it. In fact, you haven't a chance, period.
Spear, you're crazy. You can't get away with this. I'll call for help.
In the first place, you won't call. The instant you even try to yell, I'll pull the trigger. In the second place, who'd hear you out here in the marsh?
Why, I don't... Victor, yes, that's it. Victor might hear me. He often comes out here to study bird life. Or maybe one of the servants may be around here.
None of the servants will be around here today. You know Jed's too lazy to do anything he doesn't have to, and Kathy's rheumatism will keep her indoors on a day like this.
But Victor...
He won't be here today either. No, Mr. Orin, you'd better not count on help from your dear nephew. I've taken care of him.
You killed Victor?
Now, why would I do that? I only want to kill one man, and that's you, Mr. Orin. No, I saw to it that Victor received a new book on ornithology this morning. He's in his study reading about the habits of birds.
The habits of birds. Birds that, according to scientists, were once reptiles. But according to science, man was also once a reptile. So the lives of the two, birds and men, may at times be interwoven. In his study, Victor muses.
Birds are strange creatures. Jed, do you know that the Ardea Herodias...
The what?
The Ardea Herodias, the great blue heron.
You mean like them that live round the marsh?
Precisely. Well, the Ardea Herodias has one claw that's toothed.
You don't say.
I don't, but this book does. It says the middle toe is toothed.
What's the bird want teeth in his middle toe for?
I suppose to make it easier to hold on to the fish it catches. You've seen them catch fish, haven't you?
Yeah, especially around the old fish trap in the marsh. I don't reckon I ever saw one of them lose a fish once he grabbed a hold of it.
Precisely.
Oh, say, I reckon there ain't much them book writers don't know. Wonder how they learn it.
By observation, Jed. Oh, I tell you, this is a fine book. I just got it this morning. I don't know who sent it, but whoever did certainly knew what he was doing. It's a remarkable book. You ought to read it.
Yeah, I ain't no hand at book reading.
To think that a man like you or me, could learn so much about ornithology.
About what, Mr. Victor?
Ornithology, that's the scientific name for the study of bird life.
Oh.
And he learned it the right way, by watching birds in their native habitats.
Yeah? The what?
Where they live.
What do you want to do that for?
Because it's so interesting. It's fascinating. I think I'll go down to the marsh to watch the Ardea Herodias myself. Yes, that's what I'll do this very instant. I'm going to the marsh.
Oren went to the marsh to kill birds. Spear went to kill Oren. Victor is going to the marsh to observe birds. Birds and men, they're all interwoven as the threads of life and of death.
But why do you want to kill me, Spear? You've been my secretary almost 10 years. I've paid you well, haven't I? I've been good to you, haven't I?
But not as good as I'm going to be to myself.
Why, I even made a provision in my will for you.
But not as big as the provision I've made in it.
As you've made? What are you talking about?
I've destroyed your will and substituted one to fit my own ambitions. I'm going to inherit quite a piece of your estate.
So you won't get away with it? You'll be found out.
Do you think so? How many years have I been signing your name to letters?
About 8.
Has anyone ever detected that it isn't your signature?
No, that is...
Exactly. No one will ever suspect the will is a forgery. Simple, isn't it?
But it is never simple, Spear.
You're quite philosophic for a man who's about to die. But you overlook the fact that I've planned this carefully for 5 years. I know every detail of what I'm going to do. There isn't a chance of a slip-up.
The perfect crime, eh?
Yes, I suppose you can call it that. Everything will go just as I planned it, Mr. Oren. With your money, I'll be on Easy Street the rest of my life.
I'm not dead yet.
I'll take care of that in a moment, sir.
There are easier ways of making money, Spear.
I like this way better. Incidentally, that's where you're going to be buried, Mr. Oren. Over there at the fishing weir. Take a good look at it. Not every man gets a chance to see his future grave.
No, not every man gets a chance to see his future grave. But every man has his own hopes of averting, or at least delaying, death. Other people may inadvertently help him. For instance, right now at Oren's house, Kathy, the housekeeper, is saying...
Jed, where's Mr. Victor?
In his study, I reckon.
You reckon. Oh, never seen such a man for not knowing nothing.
Well, ain't he in his study?
No, he ain't. Would I be asking if he was there?
No, I don't reckon you would.
Oh, there you go, reckoning again. Can't you give a body a straight answer?
What do you always want to be picking on me for, Kathy? I ain't no nursemaid to know where everybody's at all the time.
Now, Jed, you keep a civil tongue in your head. Land of Goshen, you think a body said something outlandish to you. All I asked...
All you asked was if I knowed where Mr. Victor is. And I said, say, I just remembered. He said he was going out to the marsh to see...
Just what I thought. He's going out to see if he can get a look at some of them wild birds he's so crazy about. Oh, I might have known it. That man'll be the death of me yet.
Well, what you carrying on like that for? Can a man go for a walk to the marsh without you raising a ruckus?
Not without his mackinaw on a raw day like this, he can't. Ah, that poor boy'll catch his death of cold. Goshen, I don't know what folks would do if I didn't look after him. Now, you get Mr. Victor's mackinaw and take it to him right this minute.
Oh, Kathy, if he didn't take it himself, maybe it's 'cause he don't want it.
Jed, you do like I say.
You take Mr. Victor's Mackinaw to him right this minute. If he had my rheumatism, he'd know better than leaving it behind.
But how am I going to know where he's at?
You just said yourself he was going to the marsh. Well, you go there, too. Keep looking till you find him.
Oh, all right. Don't get het up about it. I reckon all I do around here is go traipsing around following you.
Have you had a good look at your future grave, Mr. Oren? You're going to be in it soon. I'm going to kill you with your own shotgun. It'll be the culmination of 5 years of careful planning.
Oh, you ungrateful wretch.
You ought to keep quiet and listen to me. And don't make any suspicious moves. I've got an itchy trigger finger, and I don't want anything to happen to you until I'm absolutely ready.
Spear, I'm telling you again.
You're telling me again that I can't get away with it. Well, you're wrong, Mr. Oren. You're not dealing with stocks and bonds now. You're dealing with human life. Your life.
All right, Spear. You win. I'll make a deal with you.
What kind of a deal?
I'll pay you as much money as you want, if only you won't kill me. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'll make you rich.
You'll double-cross me, that's what you'll do.
No, honestly.
Honestly, that's a laugh. What an awful sap you must think I am. Why, you turn me over to the police so fast it would make my head swim. But it's your head that's going to swim underwater.
Oh, no, Spear, please.
I'm going to shoot you, then I'm going to tie you to the bottom of one of the stakes of the fishing weir. You'll be fastened so securely, you'll be there forever. No one will ever find you there.
Spear, listen to me. I'll do anything you say, anything. Only don't kill me.
You're stalling for time, Mr. Oren, but it won't do you any good.
Listen to me.
You know nothing you say will keep me from carrying out my plans.
I'll sign my property over to you. I'll make it legal. You'll be rich. Now think it over.
I have thought it over. For 5 years. That's a long time, Mr. Oren. Everything is just as I planned it, including your begging for mercy.
I promise. I promise I'll never tell anybody about this, if only...
Of course you'll never tell anybody about this. You know the old saying, dead men tell no tales.
Spear, I don't want to die.
No one wants to die. And no one wants to lie at the bottom of a marsh tied to a fish trap. It isn't much of a monument, especially for a rich man like you, Mr. Oren. But it's going to be yours for eternity.
Please.
Your proposition, if I let you live.
I'll do anything you want, Spear. Anything you want. I'll give you everything I've got. Now, you'll never regret it. Believe me, you won't.
You're right. I'll never regret it. And by it, I mean this.
This is the story of Spear and a gun which he fired twice. The first time at a crow which he did not kill but merely crippled. The second time at his employer, Mr. Oren, whom he murdered on the spot. This is the story of Victor, Mr. Oren's nephew, a student of bird life who worries about the crippled crow and who questions Spear about the disappearance of his uncle. He does not know that Spear has fastened Mr. Oren's dead body to the bottom of an old fishing weir in the marsh.
You were right, Victor. That crow was the bird of death. Of course, I don't believe in Indian superstitions, but if I hadn't shot that bird, maybe Mr. Oren wouldn't be dead now.
Don't blame yourself, Spear. But what I can't understand is why we haven't been able to recover the body. That crew of men has been searching around the center of the marsh with grappling hooks all day now.
Maybe the body is caught on a shrub or something at the bottom.
Yes, could be. If that's the case, I'll ask them to use dynamite.
Dynamite? I hadn't thought of that.
Are you sure you pointed out the exact spot where the accident happened?
I'm positive.
Then there's nothing to do but use dynamite. That'll dislodge anything in the immediate vicinity. Been using dynamite and still no sign of Uncle's body.
I'm just as sorry about that as you are, but as I said before, it's probably wedged between some shrubs or rocks down at the bottom. These old marshes are full of them, you know.
Yes.
I know how you must feel, Victor, but please bear in mind it isn't easy for me either.
I can understand that, your having been with him when it happened.
I'll never forget it. It was terrible. Last night I dreamed about it. I felt the water closing over me as I surface dived the last time trying to find him. My hands searched in vain. I could feel the water suffocating me, and then I awoke drenched in cold sweat. Oh, if only I could have saved him.
Don't blame yourself, Spear. You did everything you could. It's too bad Jed and I didn't get here about 5 minutes sooner. Then we could have helped.
Yes, it's too bad.
I can't get over an experienced hunter like Uncle capsizing the boat.
Well, as I told you before, he was so anxious to get the duck he'd shot, he leaned way over the gunwale as he reached for it. He leaned too far. The boat turned over, plunging us both into the water.
Yes, you told us about that.
I tried to get him to stay in the blind while I rowed out and retrieved the bird, but no, nothing would do but for him to get into the boat with me. I asked him not to.
Why?
Why what?
Why did you ask him not to get into the boat with you?
Well, I don't really know, only...
Only you had a premonition. Is that it, Spear?
Well, no, that is not exactly. Only there was no necessity for both of us going after the duck. I could have gotten it myself. I always have in the past when we went hunting together.
But this time, things worked out differently, eh, Spear?
Yes, this time things worked out differently.
Maybe things like that are planned.
What do you mean?
Oh, fate, destiny, you know, that sort of thing.
I believe everything happens according to plan. Everything.
Who will gainsay that everything does happen according to plan? But whose plan? And what is the plan? Is there no such thing as circumstance? And what part does it play in the plans a man may make?
And they haven't found the body yet?
Nary a sign of it, Kathy. Nary a sign.
Oh, poor Mr. Oren, not getting a decent burial. It ain't right. Him being down the bottom of the marsh like that, I tell you, Jed, it ain't right.
No, reckon ain't nobody gonna argue with you about that. But a day's dynamiting ain't done no good. Ain't much more that can be done.
You mean they'll leave him down there?
I reckon so. What else can they do?
Well, I don't rightly know, but seems like they oughtn't to give up till they find poor Mr. Oren's body.
Maybe they ain't never going to find it.
Why?
Maybe it just wasn't meant to be found.
Oh, Jed, you don't make no sense.
No, lots of things don't make no sense if you ask me.
Things like what?
Well, I don't rightly know how to put it, but some things just don't add up.
Oh, land of Goshen, Jed, you're going to drive me plumb crazy with that kind of talk. What things don't add up?
Well, it's like this, Kathy. You recollect you sent me out to the marsh to find Mr. Victor and give him his mackinaw?
Of course I recollect.
Well, I done like you told me to. I found him moseying along toward the marsh, reading one of them books that he got the very day of Mr. Oren's accident.
I know all about that.
Yeah, but here's what you don't know. He asked me to go to the marsh with him. He wanted to show me something about about blue heron. And so I went with him.
I know all about that, too. What of it?
Hold your horses, will you? I'm coming to that. We heard a shot from the marsh, along about the fishing weir, I'd say. And a few minutes later, when we got there was Mr. Spear dripping water and climbing out of the marsh with his story about how Mr. Oren was drowned.
Well, what don't add up with that? It's exactly what Mr. Spear's been telling about the accident.
Yeah, but according to his story, Mr. Oren, he shot a duck from where they was hiding in the blind. The duck fell in the middle of the marsh, and he and Mr. Spear, they got in the boat and rowed out to get the dead bird.
That's right.
Mr. Oren leans out to pick the duck out of the water, and the boat turns over, drowning him, even though Mr. Spear, according to his story, done everything he could to save Mr. Oren. Now, appears to me that was a mighty short time for all that to happen. Seems like all them doings ought to take more than the 4 or 5 minutes it took me and Mr. Victor to get to the marsh and see Mr. Spear climbing out of it.
Oh, land of Goshen, Jed, that kind of talk would drive a body clean out of their mind. Maybe it took you and Mr. Victor more than 4 or 5 minutes to get to the edge of the marsh.
No, it didn't.
And even if it didn't, that don't mean nothing. Things just naturally happen fast sometimes.
Yeah, maybe. But still, it just don't set right with me. I reckon it ought to take more time than that for all them things to happen.
So they stopped dynamiting her.
Yeah, Kathy, Mr. Victor finally give it up. Said there wasn't no use keeping it up forever.
Oh, that means poor Mr. Oren will be down there at the bottom of the marsh till doomsday.
I reckon so. I still say the whole thing don't add up just right.
Oh, now don't start that again, Jed. Body just can't stand being around you when you carry on with such crazy talk.
I just can't help feeling
Oh,
that...
land of Goshen. You make even my rheumatism worse for that kind of talk.
All right, then I'll keep quiet about it. But I still say...
There you go again.
All right. Don't get yourself het up.
You and your crazy talk. You haven't told Mr. Victor any of it, have you?
No.
Well, don't. He's got enough on his mind right now as is.
I won't say nary word about it to him.
Promise?
Yes, I promise.
That's better. By the way, where is Mr. Victor now?
I reckon he and Mr. Spears over at the lawyer's for the reading of the will.
Looks like they could have waited a spell before they went into that.
Mr. Spears said they might as well get over with.
Guess he's right. Oh, I get all fussed up inside thinking of poor Mr. Oren resting down the butt. Jed, where you going?
I think I'll just mosey on over to the marsh for a spell. I just can't get it through my head why the whole thing don't add up.
Believe me, Victor, the contents of the will are as much of a surprise to me as they must be to you. I thought Mr. Oren would remember me, but I didn't dream he would leave me the bulk of his estate.
Neither did I.
I'm sorry if it upset your plans in any way.
My plans? Looks as though Uncle didn't think much of them.
Then he knew about them?
He knew I wanted to devote my life to ornithology. He gave me the impression he approved of it.
He must have changed his mind.
Evidently, but it doesn't change mine. I'm going to be an ornithologist. I played around with it before as a hobby, but I'm in dead earnest now. I'm going to start right away. In fact, right now.
Now?
Yes. Spear, I'm going to begin with the birds I've observed closely the last few days.
But, Victor, you were at the marsh the last few days.
Precisely. And there were birds there, birds I want to see again. Spear, drive as close to the marsh as you can, then we'll walk the rest of the way.
If you don't mind my saying so, it sounds rather silly to me.
Do you mind doing what I ask?
No, I don't mind. Why should I?
I don't know. But then there are other things I don't know. Things I intend to find out about. Do you have a gun?
A what?
A gun. What's the matter? Don't you understand English?
Look, Victor, I can understand your being upset about the will.
Well, have you got a gun or haven't you?
There's a double-barrel shotgun in the back of the car.
That's perfect for what I want. Now, row out to the middle of the marsh where the accident happened.
Very well, if that's what you want, but it seems rather...
That's what I want.
Okay. Well, here we are. Now, what's this got to do with birds?
Plenty. See that buzzard of a crow sitting there on the fishing weir? The bird you crippled? Well, watch me take a shot at him.
You missed him.
I intended to. Killing isn't in my line.
What does that crack mean?
You'll know soon enough.
I don't understand you, Victor. First, you try to keep me from shooting that bird. Then you take a crack at him and miss him on purpose. You must be losing your mind.
On the contrary, my mind is just beginning to function. Now, Spear, I want you to row over to the fish trap.
Huh?
You heard me. I said row over to the fishing weir.
Now, look, Victor, I've had all of this I want. You can't order me around.
I'll remind you that this is a double-barrel shotgun. Only one shell has been fired, so the other barrel is still loaded, and it's pointed right at you. Do I make myself understood?
Yes.
All right, then. Row! Edge the boat over a little, Spear. Right against the stake that crow is sitting on.
Why, it's back.
Yes, it's back. Back on the same stake it's been sitting on for 3 days now. It just sits there and stares hungrily straight down into the water.
Well, what of it?
That bird is a scavenger, Spear. It isn't here to catch fish like the other birds. It's only interested in carrion.
All right, so it's interested in carrion. What's that to me?
You're interested in carrion too, Spear, but in a different way.
You're crazy. You don't know what you're saying.
Prove it. Let's investigate that stake, the one the bird was perched on.
No. No, let's go back to the house.
You're afraid because my uncle's corpse is at the other end of it, Spear.
No, of course not. It's because... Well, you give me that... No. I've got the gun. All right, your uncle's down there at the bottom of the fish trap. I killed him just as I'm going to kill you right...
I got him just in time, Mr. Victor. I heard what he said. I was there in the duck blind. I'm sure glad I had my rifle with me.
I told him that Corvus Coroni was the bird of death.
This is the story of a man named Spear, of a bird, a kind of carrion crow, of a student of bird life named Victor, and of his uncle, Oren. A story of birds and men interwoven as the threads of life and death. From shadows and stillness, mystery weaves a spell of strangest fascination, charging the mind with doubts and fears. For mystery is a strange companion, a living memory in the haunting hour. No. No, stay where you are. Do not break the stillness of this moment, for this is a time of mystery, a time when imagination is free and moves forward swiftly, silently. This is the haunting hour. The old men. At the foot of Fulton Street, where fishing vessels and other boats come laden with cargo for New York City's people and industry, lies the Schooner Hotel, surrounded by dingy fish markets, gray, forbidding warehouses, and abandoned buildings. It overlooks the cobblestones of South Street. Many years ago, perhaps, it was the private mansion of some colonial merchant. Now, it houses only the old, the poor, and the unwanted. Retired sailors and fishermen, broken-down draymen, and those who have lived out their lives, but have not died. One foggy December evening, a shining black limousine glided to a stop in front of the hotel. Mrs. Ralph Hollister sat in the back, tense with shock and astonishment.
Schooner Hotel. Snowden, are you sure this awful place is where my stepfather lives?
Yes, ma'am. I checked the address with the detective. He said Mr. Stebbins had been here 3 months, ma'am.
Snowden, wait here, please. If I need your help, I'll call you.
Yes, ma'am. Funny the old gentleman coming back to where he started, isn't it, Mrs. Hollister?
Oh, don't worry, Snowden. He won't be there for long. How much higher, Mr. Hazard?
Fifth floor. Practically there. Here it is, Mum. Be there, you old grave robber! What in the name of Sam Hill? Diana.
Good evening, Father.
Oh, yeah, Diana. Joe, I'd like you to meet my daughter, my stepdaughter. Diana, this walking corpse is Joe Hazard. He runs the place.
We've met. That'll be all, Mr. Hazard.
Yes, ma'am. See you later, Larry. Dead, I hope.
Let's go inside, Dad, and shut the door.
Have a seat, Diana.
I won't sit down because I'm not going to stay. You've had us all worried sick, running away from home and not letting us know where you were.
I sent you postcards. What more do you want?
You're coming home with me right now, immediately. Now, let's start packing.
Now, Diana, don't start that. I'm not going back to all those stuffy society people.
You're 78, Father. You're rich, entitled to comfort.
Theyana, now you get this straight. I won't go back with you.
Dad.
Now, listen, Diana, I've got everything I want. Good fishing, good sleeping, good eating, good friends.
Friends? Those horrible old men?
Yes, friends. There's not one of us that doesn't look forward to the other's funeral. Hey, Joe, put another lump of coal on the stove. It's cold in the lobby.
Why don't you wear a warmer shroud?
Now, don't be so stingy. You won't be here much longer to enjoy your money.
Huh? Look who's talking about money, Joe. The undertaker told me that Stebbins was in price in a gold casket the other day.
That's a good one.
Now, look here, Joe. There are 9 of us, all about the same age.
What do you mean, same age? I'm 81.
Okay, Pete. But you'll all see, I'm going to outlast the rest of you old duffers.
That boasting of yours is a bad business, Stebbins.
Joe's right. As a matter of fact, you haven't been looking so well lately, Stebbins.
Who says?
Me, Tim Owens.
So do I. Spinelli the oysterman looked just like you do right before he was took.
Huh?
And he was hardly 75.
Now, look, Pete, if you don't stop me...
Don't be a sorehead, Stebbins. Pete's just paying you back.
I can take it, Tim. But you've all been ganging up on me. Haven't you, Scott?
What's fair is fair. Lay off him, boys.
Scotty's right, yeah.
Of course, Larry. And the boys can't help it. And many a time I seen him taking an old horse from Frenchy's stable. And I says to myself, I wonder when they're going to lead Larry Stebbins away.
You'd get a big kick out of seeing me go, wouldn't you?
Of course I would. With you gone and all our wills made out to the survivor, there'd be real money in the pie.
Sure, before we cut you in, the whole prize for surviving warn't more than $20,000 for the whole 8 of us.
And now it's millions. That's why we're ganging up on you.
Larry, I never could figure why, with all your dough, you took a hand in it.
Why, to win, of course, Tim. To see if I can lick the game of death the way I've licked everything else.
Stebbins, you know what I think.
No, what?
I think you're nuts.
What? Well, we'll see. Now, Tim, I ran into a bargain you could use real soon.
Yeah?
Yeah. A nice, cheap gray.
It was horrible, Ralph, and yet he absolutely refused to leave.
Well, Diana, we might as well face it. Your stepfather hasn't been happy living with us.
But why must he stay in a place like the schooner?
Oh, any other surroundings are too tame for him. He's always been a vigorous person.
Then, there's this morbid game they play. Oh, it's incredible. One night, he said he climbed into bed and found a tombstone there with his name on it. Oh, it isn't human, Ralph. It isn't human.
Oh, Diana. Now, darling, take it easy.
Ralph, you've got to make him move. You've just got to.
All right, Diana, but how?
I don't know. You just must go down there with me and speak to him.
No, I'm afraid speaking won't do any good, dear. We'll have to use force. All his life, Lawrence Stebbins has used force, and it's the only thing he understands.
Do you know where Mr. Stebbins is, Mr. Owens?
Couldn't rightly say. Saw him go out early this morning. Hasn't been sitting around the stove at all today like he usually does.
Well, where's Mr. Hazard?
Joe, he's out for a breath of air. Won't do him no good, though.
What do you mean?
He's bound to go anyway.
Ralph, don't listen to him. It's just that awful game.
Oh, here's Joe now. Hey, Joe, Larry Stebbins' daughter's looking for him. You seen him?
I've come to take Mr. Stebbins home, Mr. Hazard.
I'm afraid you won't be able to do that, Miss Hollister.
Why? Where is he?
Is this his cap, Mum?
Well, let me see it, please. Initials L.S. Abbott Brothers. Yes, that's where he buys his clothes. Yes, I think it is.
I thought so. Some kids out there gave it to me.
Where'd they find it?
They said it belonged to a guy who jumped off the end of the pier. An old man like myself, they said.
Suicide?
That's what it looks like to me, mister.
No, Ralph, it couldn't be. If there was one thing that Lawrence Stebbins wanted, it was to stay alive.
You mean...
I mean, if he died, there was just one reason. Murder.
Here it is, Fish Market Diner.
Well, let's go in, Ralph.
All right. But I still don't see why you're so suspicious.
What can I do for you?
Did you know Lawrence Stebbins of the Schooner Hotel?
Sure, I know him. Great sport, regular customer.
Was he in here today?
Sure was. Had a big breakfast and was happy as a weasel. Next thing I knew, he'd kicked the bucket.
What do you mean he was happy?
Well, Mac, he was cracking wise. He even did an old-time dance with his hat on his cane.
Hat? You mean his cap?
Oh, no, ma'am. He was wearing a hat.
If we just stand here opposite the hotel, we can watch who comes and goes without being seen in the dark.
Diana, watch that door. Someone's coming now.
Oh, you know him. That's Tim Owens.
No, I can't see very well. We better get closer. Let's go over behind the loading platform on the next pier.
All right. The light should show their faces better from there.
Let's go.
Made it. Ralph, look.
Look where?
Right behind me.
Yes, there. The two of the old men.
Pete Sanders and Charlie Hall. Both asleep.
Yes. But they're not asleep. They're dead. Stone dead. It It was just at the side of the pier north of the hotel.
As soon as we saw them, we came for you, Sergeant Boyd.
You say there were two of them?
Yes, you can see for yourself.
Probably just a couple of bums sleeping off a drunk.
On a December night? Besides, I'm sure they were Pete Sanders and Charlie Hall.
They were dead, all right.
We'll see. You're a little edgy about your stepfather's suicide, ain't you, ma'am?
Oh, of course I am.
Well, you could have made a mistake. You know, the police boat is still out there dragging the river. May take days to find him.
Well, here we are. Now, we were standing just about here, weren't we, Diana? And the bodies were... The bodies? They're gone.
Say, Joe, Sergeant Boyd was in here looking for Pete Sanders and Charlie Hall while you was out.
What do you want him for, Scotty?
Oh, said Stebbins' daughter thought she saw him dead.
Yeah, the way she and her husband was talking, you'd think Larry Stebbins wasn't fit for the undertaker anyway.
No, Tim. Don't hold it against the young lady. She's all worked up. They'll find the old man's body, she'll calm down, and we can all go to the funeral.
Say, Tim, you didn't happen to see Pete or Charlie this evening?
No, I didn't, Scotty. But I was out a while. Maybe Sullivan did. Wake up, Sullivan. Wake up! He's been sitting here in the lobby all evening, snoozing off and on.
That's a good idea, Tim. Sullivan! Hey, wake up! He's out like a light.
Hey, I think I'll hang some crepe on him. Scare him when he comes to.
Oh, lay off that stuff for a while, Tim. It gives me the willies. Sullivan!
Try shaking him, Scotty.
Sullivan, wake up! Pat! Hey, don't fall over like that. Joe, he's not asleep. He's dead.
Diana, let's go home. No one's got in or out of the hotel for an hour.
Ralph, I'm just as cold as you are, but I'm going to stay here, even if it takes all night.
All right, darling. Anyway, I'm convinced that you're right. The person who killed Sanders and Hall killed your stepfather, too.
Only this time we came along before the bodies were disposed of. Ralph.
What, Diana?
Those were real bodies, weren't they?
Certainly. I even noticed a small wounded one. I think it was Hall.
That's exactly what I mean. If they were carried anywhere, there might be bloodstains.
Yes. We could trace them. They were probably taken backwards toward the river. I'll look there.
I'll look over here, toward the street.
All right. No, nothing here.
Ralph?
What?
Come here.
What is it, Diana?
I picked up a trail of dark red spots.
Good. Yes. We'll follow them. They seem to lead right to this abandoned building next to the hotel.
So they do.
From the direction, I'd say they'd go straight to that side door.
Oh, we'll try it.
Mm-hmm. That's where they've gone.
Well, try the door.
Diana, it's open. Come on in.
Good evening, Diana. Good evening, Ralph. I've been expecting you.
Mr. Stebbins.
When Lawrence Stebbins disappeared from the shabby schooner hotel at the waterfront, the police and everyone else thought he had committed suicide. However, his stepdaughter Diana and her husband, Ralph Hollister, felt that Larry Stebbins, who had fought his way up in the world, would not give up the ghost simply because he was badgered by the other old men living at the hotel. They were sure someone had begun to play the macabre game of death in earnest, especially after they found two of the old men dead. But when they opened the side door of the abandoned house next to the hotel and were greeted genially by the man whose murderer they were seeking, they didn't know what to think.
Well, Diana, what's the matter? You look as if you're not glad to see me.
Oh, it's not that. Father, you're not... We thought that you were...
You gave us quite a turn, Mr. Stebbins. If we expected anything, we thought it would be your... I mean, that we wouldn't find you here quite like this.
You mean you thought I was dead? Well, why not say it?
Well, after all...
Can't stand this pussyfooting about a common natural word. We all die sooner or later. Question is, who manages to hold on a little longer?
Oh, please, don't start that morbid talk again.
It ain't morbid. It's natural.
It's horrible.
Now, Mr. and Mrs. Hollister, do you mind telling me what you're doing snooping around at this time of night?
Well, sir, I think it's your turn to answer that question.
Why, right at this moment, the police are dragging the river for your body.
They are? That's downright amusing. Poor fellows must be cold out there.
I fail to see anything funny about it.
You wouldn't.
Why are you here?
I kind of like it here. Quiet. Lots of young people.
Stop that nonsense. Why are you here?
Here? Here? Oh, yes, here. I was locked up here.
Why, that's not true. The door was open when we came in.
Well, that's true. Very true. And you know why the door was open?
No. All I know is that you're telling me a story.
You're wrong, Diana. You see, the door was open to let you come in. You wanted to come in, didn't you?
Yes, but I don't see what that has to do with...
You wanted to come in. I unlocked the door. Now, really, I don't see that you have any cause for complaint.
Oh, look, that's beside the point. You say you were locked in here. Why?
Why? Well, it's this way. A fellow wanted to kidnap me.
You mean that you're hiding here from someone?
No. He did kidnap me.
Oh, sure. And then he gave you a key so that you could get out.
The funny thing about that, he doesn't know I have the key. Now, what do you think about that, Diana? That's something, isn't it? Huh?
If you've got a key, why don't you leave?
No, couldn't do that. Next time he came around to check up on me, he'd miss me. Things just wouldn't work out right.
Just who is this person?
Who? Oh, yes, who? Joe Hazard. He forced me in here.
Why?
Figure he wanted me out of the way for a little while. What do you think?
I think it's all a pack of lies.
What do you mean?
You don't have to stay down here 1 minute longer, and you're not going to.
You're coming home with us right now.
Now, wait a minute. Just who do you think you're bossing around?
Oh, Ralph didn't mean anything, Father. It's only that this whole stupid affair has gone far enough.
I told you I wasn't going uptown with you.
All right, Diana, it's no use arguing. There's only one way to handle this. Grab his other arm and get him out of here.
Let go of me.
Come on, let go. Be careful, Ralph.
Ever since I retired, you two have been trying to run me. Well, you're not going to any longer. No one in the world can run Larry Stebbins.
Why, Lawrence Stebbins, what's come over you?
Just come to my senses, that's all. I want to stay here, and nobody's going to tell me different. Now, get moving.
What? Where to?
You're going down the cellar, where you can't interfere. Turn left. Now, down those stone steps.
The bloodstains, they go this way. I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
Be quiet, Diana. You wouldn't want to get me in trouble, would you? Now, you. Ralph, open that closet door.
Ralph! The bodies, they're in here.
Go ahead, get in there, both of you.
Sanders and Hall show up yet, Tim?
No, Joe, and I've been sitting here all the time.
I'm beginning to think the Hollisters were right.
So am I, Scotty.
There's some funny things going on around here, and we ought to pay 'em some mind.
There's only 5 of us left. Us 3, McIntyre and Everett. We'd better work fast.
Where is Mac and Everett, Joe?
Went to bed, Tim. I told 'em they better stay down here, but they laughed and said I was nuts. Didn't they, Scotty?
Mac said he was going upstairs to dream about my burial. I got sore as all heck. I can't stand that talk anymore after what's happened.
Scotty, go upstairs and tell them to come down here.
We ought to keep together. I'd feel safer if I knew you was all sitting here in the lobby.
Okay, but they'll probably yell murder when I wake 'em.
You know what I think, Tim? I think Stebbins' suicide was a put-up job.
How do you figure that, Joe?
Just got a feeling. The way the boys acted when they gave me his cap, like they was rehearsed. And then everything that's happened tonight. I tell you, I'm scared. I'm scared stiff.
So am I.
You fellas thought Stebbins was kidding about living longer, but he's not that kind of a guy. Look how he made his dough in the shipping business.
What do you mean, Joe?
Oh, like he said once, he always got what he wanted. He wouldn't stop at nothing. Never has.
But murder, Joe, that's pretty terrible.
I wouldn't put it past him, Jim.
What's that?
Well, sounds like Scotty.
Yo, Jim, I'm getting out of here. I'm getting out of here fast.
What's up, Scotty?
It's terrible, terrible. I went into the rooms and the beds was empty and the windows open.
Where were they?
I looked out the backyard and they was lying there, the 2 of them, in a heap.
There's only us 3 left now, Joe.
Boys, this is all Stebbins' work.
Stebbins?
Oh, Stebbins is dead. Joe was just telling me he thinks Larry faked this croaking.
He's around somewhere, I tell you, and we're going to find him.
Well, where do you think he is, Joe?
I've got an idea. He's in the house next door.
Then how would he get in here?
Yeah, these used to be twin houses, Tim. There's a door in the cellar that connects them.
Let's go and find out. I'll get my gun. I don't want to go there. Get the police. It's their job.
There's no time to get the police, Scotty.
Then let's get out of here. Let's go anywhere. Oh, he'll get us for sure if we stay here. Scotty, we've got to stick together. There's only 3 of us left now.
Yeah, 3 of us and Stebbins.
Ralph, what's happening?
I can't hear very well through this ventilator, but I'm sure that after he locked us in here, he went upstairs. I heard the door slam, so he probably went out.
Oh, if he only hadn't locked us in here with these awful bodies.
Oh, Diana.
I suppose it's no use even trying to think he isn't guilty.
I'm afraid not, darling, after the way he's behaved.
But he's my own stepfather. Whatever happens, I can't turn him over to the police.
Maybe it won't be necessary. Once he's had his way for the last time in his life.
You mean?
Yes.
Oh, it's horrible to say, but I hope for his sake that he does it.
Oh, if there were only a way of getting out of here, it would make sense to decide what to do.
You don't mean we'll have to stay here?
Well, unless someone finds us or he lets us out, I wouldn't be too hopeful.
But that's impossible. Ralph, I don't want to die. I don't want to die, not in this terrible closet.
Quiet, Anna. I think I hear footsteps upstairs.
What is it?
He must be back again.
It sounds like more than one person.
Diana, door. The heavy door in the cellar wall that I told you about. It's opening.
Can you see who it is? Is it Father?
Not yet. Looks like 3 people.
Tim, Scotty, I was right. Look, blood on the floor.
It's Hazard. He's following the trail.
Poor Dad, it's over for him.
It leads to the closet. I bet Pete and Charlie are in there.
Maybe they'll find us. I'll call.
No, Ralph, no. I'd rather die than tell them about my stepfather.
I'm going upstairs, Tim. Let me have your gun.
He's up there, Ralph. They'll find him. They'll kill him.
Here you are, Joe. You want Scotty and me to come along?
No, I think I can handle everything now.
We'll wait here, Joe.
You'll stay down here. Put up your hands, both of you, and move toward that closet door.
Joe, don't point that gun at us.
I told you I'd be the last to go, but none of you would believe me. To the rest of you, this was just a game. But if I don't get the money, and soon, I'm going to lose my hotel. There'll be only Stebbins and me. And the police will take care of him.
No, you wouldn't shoot an old pal, would you, Joe?
I did in the others, Tim.
No.
Just you 2 left. Now, move towards that closet.
Please, I don't want to...
Ralph, don't let them. They're coming in here.
There he is, Sergeant Boyd.
Okay, Mr. Stebbins.
Let go of me. Let go of me.
Not this time, Joe Hazard. We're booking you for murder.
Nice sitting out here in the park, ain't it, stranger?
Yeah, Pop.
Don't call me Pop. You know who I am?
No.
Yeah, look at this clipping.
Waterfront hotel keeper convicted for murder of 7 on testimony of Lawrence Stebbins, retired shipping magnate.
That's me. Yes, sir, 7 murders, and there needn't have been any if I'd stopped Joe Hazard before he finished them off.
Really?
Yes, sir. Went to 8 funerals, but I really got a kick out of Joe Hazard's. Had to lock my stepdaughter and her husband up, too. They nearly grabbed my whole plan. You know, Joe Hazard thought he could plant all those murders on me. But you have to be pretty clever to outsmart Larry Stebbins.
Listen, Pop, you gonna shut up? I'm reading.
Okay, mister, I'll go. 8 funerals. And no one will even talk to me. It's kind of lonely, though, now, Larry. Ain't it? No friends, no family. Yes, Larry, it's kind of lonely. Like a tomb.
From shadows and stillness, mystery weaves a spell of strangest fascination, charging the mind with doubts and fears. For mystery is a strange companion, a living memory in the haunting hour.
No, stay where you are. Do not break the stillness of this moment. For this is a time of mystery. A time when imagination is free and moves forward swiftly, silently. This is the haunting hour. Ptolemy's grave. Over the tomb which held the mummy of Ptolemy III, these words were written: Death to him who disturbs the everlasting resting place of these sacred remains. 2 weeks ago, William Cartwright, a famous Egyptologist, defied this curse. He bought the mummy, had it sent to his home. That same day, he slowly walked down the stairs from his upstairs study. His wife, Martha, heard his familiar footsteps in the hall, over the stairs. But she did not know that her husband was then walking into a nothingness, that he would completely disappear, leaving no trace of his whereabouts. Now, it is 2 o'clock the following morning. The Cartwright house is still. A taut feeling of mystery hovers in the air. Martha Cartwright is dreaming of her missing husband. And in her dream, as in her waking hours, she is haunted by the fear of Ptolemy's curse.
William.
Martha, I hear you. Do you hear me?
William, where are you?
Downstairs. I'm downstairs, Martha.
Downstairs? Here in our house?
In our study. Come to the study, Martha.
I'll come, William.
Here in the study, Martha. Come to the study.
Yes, William. The study. I'm here, William. Here at the study door.
Look for me.
Where are you, William?
Look for me, Martha.
Darkness. Can't see you.
Come over the carpet to the mummy case. To the mummy case. The mummy of Ptolemy III.
Yes. Yes, William, I'm here.
Look at the mummy closely, Martha.
I am looking, William.
Don't you see?
All I see is a strange, misty light. Like a halo. Shining, glowing about the mummy.
Lean forward then, Martha. Look closely. Look closely.
No, I can't. I can't.
You must, Martha. Look at the mummy's face.
The face?
Can't you see, Martha? Can't you see what it is?
No. No, it's just... I don't know what you mean.
The features, Martha. Don't you see anything different about the features?
Gray, shrunken, shriveled skin. Gray and horrible.
But the lips, the forehead, the eyes. Don't you see, Martha? Have you forgotten so soon?
Forgotten? I remember you, William. I'll always remember you.
But if the eyes were open, if they were open, Martha, could you... Look, now they are open, Martha.
Yeah. I see. Now I see. William, the mummy has your face.
Yes, Martha, that's it. The mummy and I, we're the same, Martha. The same.
The same? William!
Hello?
Dr. John Crandall.
This is he. Who's this, Martha?
Yes, John. Look, I had to call you. I'm so afraid. I thought the operator could never get my call through.
Yes, I know. The long-distance lines are pretty well tied up. What's the matter, Martha? What time is it?
It's very late, but I couldn't wait till morning. John, something's happened.
Have they found William?
Yes. No. I don't know. Look, John, I need you badly. I think I'm going out of my mind.
Oh, nonsense. What happened?
I've got to see you, John, please, tonight. I'm asking you this not only as a patient, but as a friend.
But I can't come into town tonight, Martha. Oh, you're all right. It's just your imagination.
Oh, no, I thought it was a dream.
Well, I've got a job here that's got to be finished, but I can leave the hospital early in the morning.
Come as soon as you can, please.
I promise, Martha. Now, take hold of yourself. Control's the word. Remember.
I'll try, John. I'll try. It can't be. It can't be.
Hello.
Is this Mr. Kroll?
Yes?
This is Martha Cartwright, Mr. Kroll. I'm sorry to wake you up, if I did.
Oh, no. That is all right.
I've got to see you first thing in the morning. It's important. It's urgent.
Why, of course, Mrs. Cartwright.
Will you come here to my house at 9 o'clock?
At 9. I will be there. But what is the trouble?
It's about that mummy you sold my husband.
Oh, I see.
Don't fail me, Mr. Kroll.
Oh, no. I will be there without fail.
Mrs. Cartwright?
You're Mr. Kroll.
Yes.
Come in, please.
Thank you.
You're the gentleman who sold my husband the mummy, aren't you?
Yes?
Well, I want you to take it away.
Take it away?
Yes, immediately. You're here right away.
But, Mrs. Cartwright...
I'm sorry. I'm terribly upset.
No, I understand.
How soon can you take it away?
Perhaps tomorrow morning.
Oh.
But what do you want me to do with it?
I don't know. I don't care. Sell it or give it away. Do anything you want with it.
Well, that will be very difficult. You see, one reason your husband was able to buy it was... Well, perhaps we'd better not discuss it right now.
You mean it's cursed?
Yes. Misfortune has always been attached to it.
Do you believe in this curse?
I have specialized in the art and civilization of the pharaohs for 20 years. My experience has taught me to respect their ideas. Yes, Mrs. Cartwright, I believe in the curse.
Can you tell me what the curse says?
Death to him who disturbs these sacred remains. A death of torture, of maddening pain. Death in its strangest form.
And now that my husband is dead, I may be the next victim? You must take it back. Please, Mr. Kroll, I can't have it here another night. I haven't slept for days. I can't keep my eyes open, but I'm afraid to sleep.
Why don't you leave this house until tomorrow?
I can't. I'm expecting my doctors.
Then perhaps you will be able to take a nap before he arrives.
Perhaps. Well, thank you, Mr. Kroll. You'll take it tomorrow, then.
Yes. Goodbye, Mrs. Cartwright.
Oh, William.
Death in its strangest form.
Not you, William.
A death of torture, of maddening pain.
They couldn't, William. They couldn't.
Martha? Do you hear me?
William.
Yes, Martha?
Where are you?
I'm in the study, Martha. You remember where you saw me last night?
No. Oh, it was a dream last night. You were in the mummy case, then. It couldn't be.
Yes. I'm still there, Martha. Come and you'll see.
No, William, I couldn't go there again. No.
I haven't disappeared. I'm here in the house. You want to be with me? I'm here in the study, Martha.
I can't come to you, I'm afraid.
Afraid of me, your husband?
Yes, William, I know. I'll come to you.
Down here, Martha, in the study.
I'm coming to you, William. I'll do anything you say. But don't make me look at the face.
You must, Martha.
No, William, I'll do anything. Not that, please. No, not that. No.
Martha.
Please don't make me. Well, please, I can't do it.
Martha, wake up. It's John.
No.
John Crandall.
I'm going to die. I know I'm going to die. I don't want to look at that face again. Please don't make me, William. Please, please.
Martha.
John Crandall.
You were walking in your sleep, Martha. I'm sorry I slapped you, but I had to wake you.
Oh, you're here, John. Thank heavens you're here.
Is there anything left that you haven't told me, Martha?
That's all I know, John. I'm not going crazy, am I?
No, Martha. As a psychiatrist, I can tell you that you're not going crazy. This is all the result of the shock of Will's disappearance.
But that doesn't explain the curse, John. What about...
Nonsense. Civilized people don't believe in curses. Those statements were inscribed on tombs to frighten away grave robbers.
So hard for me to believe that now.
Martha, I want you to make an experiment with me.
What?
Let's go into the study together and look at the mummy.
Oh, no,
but
I
you've
can't.
got to. It's the only way you can overcome your fear. Now, just let me prove that it's only your imagination and nothing more.
Please,
if
no.
you want me to help you, Martha, you have to help me, too. Come.
All right.
That's it. Here's the study. Where's the light switch?
John, wait. Don't turn on the light.
But, Martha,
Up there, John. You see it? You see that misty light?
It's just the moon coming through the blinds.
No, it's the mummy. Look at it.
The mummy?
You see it? That gray light that shines around it? I'm not sleeping, John. I'm here with you. And look at that face. Look closely, John.
I am, Martha.
You see that face? William's face? As though it were dead for centuries? Is this a nightmare, too?
No, it's not a nightmare. I see it.
And that mummy is William's body. It's the curse of Ptolemy III. That you laughed at, John. You laughed.
Martha.
Now William's gone. He's dead.
Martha, please.
And I'll be cursed just as John was.
You don't believe that.
I do. Why didn't he believe it when they told him? Now it's too late, don't you see? Now I'll die as William died. Because now the mummy belongs to me.
Dr. Cartwright, a famous Egyptologist, purchased a mummy called Ptolomey III, despite the fact that it was known to be cursed. The same day, he vanished. Now his wife has been suffering from the delusion that the mummy has acquired Cartwright's features. In fact, is Cartwright. Dr. Crandall, a psychoanalyst and a friend of the Cartwrights, has tried to disprove this, only to find that he, too, notices a strange resemblance. Now, we find Dr. Crandall attending Mrs. Cartwright in a hospital.
It's daylight, isn't it?
Yes. How do you feel?
Better. What happened to me?
Well, you were suffering from lack of sleep, Martha, and your nerves were so unstrung that I thought it best to bring you here for a while.
Do you believe in the curse now, John? After what you saw?
No?
But you saw the same thing I did?
Yes.
How do you explain it?
I'm not sure that I can explain it yet, Martha. But after I brought you here, I went back to the house again to look at the mummy.
And?
It was gone.
Go? Oh, I suppose Mr. Kroll called for it.
Who is Mr. Kroll?
He's the man through whom William bought the mummy. I asked him to take it away.
I see. Well, I'm going to leave you now, Martha. There are several things I want to take care of. But I'll be back this evening, and I want you to come with me to Mr. Kroll's place.
Why?
I want to see that mummy again.
Oh, but John, why must I do that?
Are you still afraid of the curse?
Yes.
Well, I still intend to prove to you that there is no such thing. I'm going to buy that mummy.
Good evening, Mr. Kroll.
Oh, Mrs. Cartwright. And...
This is Dr. John Crandall.
Oh, good evening.
How do you do, sir? Mrs. Cartwright brought me here so that I could see the mummy of Ptolomey III.
Of course. May I ask why you wish to see it?
I'm interested in buying it.
I've tried to convince him that it's cursed, Mr. Kroll, but he doesn't want to believe it.
Many men have refused to believe it. It is only fair that we inform those who intend to buy, and the rest is entirely up to them. Now, if you step this way, please, the mummy is in my workshop.
Thank you. I notice you have many other mummies here, don't you, Mr. Kroll?
Oh, yes. I am known as an expert in repairing them. They are sent from museums and collectors all over the world.
And which is Ptolemy III?
In this sarcophagus, right here.
Will you open it?
Why, of course, certainly.
Now, just a moment, Martha. Don't go away. I want you to look at it.
John!
It's very important.
There you are, sir. There it is.
Martha, is that the mummy we looked at last night? You see, I'm not sure. I saw it for only a few minutes.
It looks the same, but...
But what?
The faces... the features are not so familiar.
How do you mean?
This one doesn't look like William.
Perhaps the light is too sharp here. Do you think you could turn the lights off for a second, Mr. Kroll?
No, Mr. Kroll. No, I'm afraid.
Martha, you know I'm not trying to hurt you any more than you've already been hurt by this whole affair. But I must get you to believe that there is no such thing as a curse of this kind. If you don't do as I say, your condition may grow even worse, beyond my control. Is that clear?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Kroll, will you turn off the light?
Of course.
Are you looking at the mummy in that sarcophagus, Martha?
Yes.
Do you see anything now?
No. It's so pitch black I can't see anything at all. Nothing.
I see.
John, you know I haven't been imagining all this.
What is it, Martha?
Over there. Look near that other wall. Face. That's William's, just as we saw it last night, John, with that glow all around it, and it's moving. Look, it's moving. John, make him turn on the light. John!
Mr. Kroll, will you turn on the light? Please, hurry.
Why, certainly.
Oh, John. Oh, John.
All right, Martha, all right. We'll get you out of here. Will you open the door, Mr. Kroll?
Why, of course, Doctor.
And could I ask you to get Mrs. Cartwright a glass of water?
A pleasure, I'm sure.
Martha, listen to me carefully. I've got to explain quickly. As soon as you leave here, go straight to the nearest telephone and call the police. Tell them to come here immediately.
I don't understand.
I know now that William was murdered.
What?
Yes, Kroll killed him, and I'm going to stay here with him until the police arrive.
I beg your pardon, I have the water.
Thank you. Now, drink this, Martha, and take the pill I just gave you.
Yes.
That's it. Now I think you'd better go home, and don't forget what I told you.
Yes, John, I'll go home. Goodbye, Mr. Kroll.
Goodbye, madame.
Oh, it's terrible, sir. She's completely obsessed with the fear of that mummy, and it's destroying her.
She loved her husband very much, I'm sure.
Of course. But more than anything else, it's her insane fear of that curse.
And is that the reason you want to purchase the mummy, Dr. Crandall?
Precisely.
In that case, maybe I can help you.
You can?
Yes, let us talk about it. But first, would you like to have a drink? I notice you are rather fatigued after what just has happened.
Yes, I guess I could stand something. Will you join me?
Why should I leave myself out? Why, of course, I have some very fine old spirits here. And now, there we are. I hope...
What was that?
What?
Is there somebody else in your workroom? I thought I heard a noise from there.
Well, there is nobody there that I know of. No. It must be your imagination, Doctor.
Oh.
Perhaps you yourself can take one of those pills you just administered to Mrs. Cartwright.
Yes, she has been a very trying patient, I'll admit.
Well, to her early recovery.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, dear, there is nothing quite like it, is there, eh, Doctor?
Yes, it's very fine, I must say. Now, I don't like to hurry you, Mr. Kroll, but I'm very much interested in your idea to help Mrs. Cartwright.
Well, let us start at the beginning.
When you first came into the shop with Mrs. Cartwright and she looked at the mummy, she did not see anything about it that frightened her. Is that right?
Right.
But when you suggested that we turn off the lights, it was then, for the first time, that she was aware of her, well, shall we say, her hallucination?
And what do you suggest?
I suggest that she have the mummy return to her house and then have her practice looking at it while the lights are on. And in this way, she might forget the hallucinations of seeing her husband's face.
But suppose she is not suffering from hallucinations, Mr. Crow.
Well, you yourself saw what a change came over her when the lights were turned off.
But she was not frightened by the mummy you originally showed her.
No?
No, Mr. Crow. Mrs. Cartwright saw the mummy you didn't want her to see. The mummy that you took from her house. The mummy that happens to be no mummy at all, but is, in fact, the body of her husband.
You know that?
That was why you hung a curtain in front of that mummy before we arrived.
And how did you know it was behind the curtain in my workroom?
Because of the glow of light around it. I could see that glow when the lights were turned off, so I took the curtain away completely. That was what made Mrs. Cartwright think it was moving.
Oh, I see. You are a very astute doctor. Could you tell me, perhaps, what you think made the misty glow?
That's simple. It was the natural body gases and fluids which you forgot to extract before you applied your preservative to Dr. Cartwright's corpse when you mummified it.
You are quite right. That was the only mistake I made.
There are certain things that you can't hide, Kroll, such as your bleached hair and beard. Your real name is Cavarella, isn't it?
Oh, so you are not only a doctor, you are a detective as well.
Well, you see, I knew that William Cartwright was one of the foremost Egyptologists in this country. And as such, he was often called upon to testify as an expert witness in many fraudulent cases connected with the culture.
How so?
Yes. So I went through those cases with the district attorney on the assumption that one of those defendants was connected in some way with Cartwright's disappearance.
And the district attorney told you about me?
I found out that you'd been convicted in one of those and sent to prison for 12 years on the basis of Cartwright's testimony.
Oh, well, we all make mistakes, Dr. Crandall. Even you.
What do you mean?
That drink you just had. It was poisoned. And in a few more minutes, perhaps, you will be dead. But I promise you one thing. I will not make the same mistake on your corpse that I did on Cartwright's.
So, you... My throat.
You are beginning to feel the effect of the poison.
You can't get away with this. I'll come back after I'm dead.
I am not the superstitious one, Doctor.
I can't breathe. My throat.
Dead. And now, before Mrs. Cartwright can return with the police, as you have instructed her,
John!
Mrs. Cartwright.
Yes, I want to talk to Dr. Crandall. You say... You've killed him.
Yes. And I am very glad you have returned.
What are you going to do?
Well, you see, I was just about to change Dr. Crandall's features completely so that I would not have a repetition of the same trouble. Although I did not want to kill him, I guess I was a little hasty. It was you I should have killed, my dear Mrs. Cartwright.
Don't touch me.
So you were not to call the police, eh? But they will never find out. Not with my way.
You'll find out. You can't do this. You can't get away with it.
To the police, it will be just another disappearance. A disappearance caused by the curse of Ptolomey. People like to believe those things, Mrs. Cartwright.
No, you can't do it, Kroll.
For you, Dr.
You didn't believe me, Kroll. I told you I'd come back.
John!
It's not true. It can't be.
You feel the pain, Kroll. The pain in your throat.
I feel it. Yes, I do. What is it?
In your chest, and now it's around your heart.
No. Yes, it is. Coming to my heart. I can't breathe. Oh, it's choking me.
Dead? John, you're alive. I don't understand.
I know how trying this is for you, Martha, but listen to me. I'll explain
But
it.
I just saw...
I wasn't dead. Kroll offered me a poisoned drink, but I distracted his attention by pretending to hear something outside.
Oh.
When he went to look, I switched the drinks, and he was the one who got the poison.
When I saw you there, I thought the mummy's curse had worked again.
No, Martha. That curse we talked about so much was only Kroll's own invention, and it came back to him. If he'd never thought it up, he would never have died as a result of it.
From shadows and stillness Mystery weaves a spell of strangest fascination, charging the mind with doubts and fears. For mystery is a strange companion, a living memory. In the haunting hour.
No, stay where you are. Do not break the stillness of this moment. For this is a time of mystery. A time when imagination is free and moves forward swiftly, silently. This is the haunting hour. A corpse there was.
Will you listen to me? I've got to tell it to someone, and, well, I guess you've heard a lot of strange stories. I'm Catherine Holland. It all started about a year after I'd come to work for Martin Reed and Stephen Corey as their housekeeper. Oh, we'd have such fun, the three of us. Martin was forever making me promise that I'd be with them always. Always. I didn't know how long that could be.
You're only joking, huh, Kathy? You wouldn't leave us. You'll stay with us always, won't you?
Not if you keep doing that, Martin.
Oh, you'll get used to it, Kathy.
Oh, but cutting your own name on a tombstone, it's positively morbid.
I don't see that. If a cobbler can make his own shoes, then surely a stonecutter can make his own monument.
Well, that's true.
After all, a man must do something with his spare time. And you, Stephen, of all people, have no right to scoff at me. Imagine a cemetery caretaker who wanders through the graveyard day and night, talking to the dead.
If the people I met outside the cemetery, my dear Martin, were as interesting as the people I meet inside, perhaps I wouldn't. Since they're our only neighbors along this godforsaken road, and since I must get away from you occasionally...
Now, look here, enough is enough.
Are we going to let her boss us around, Martin? You nearly 60 and me twice her age?
That's right. And you're 42, aren't you, Stephen?
Yep.
You know, I think for your next birthday, I'll start on a nice marble headstone for you.
Okay, I quit. I resign.
Oh, no, don't say that, Kathy. We need you, Stephen and I. Always before, our housekeepers were stout and rheumatic. You're so young. It was like all at once having the shades pulled up and the windows opened when you came. You won't leave us, will you, Kathy?
No, I won't leave you, Martin.
You promise?
I do. If you promise to take your medicine.
No, I told you, Kathy. I don't believe in that quack doctor. There's nothing wrong with my heart.
Oh, Martin, don't be stubborn.
It's not a matter of being stubborn. I know I'm perfectly all right.
How about those attacks you've had?
They were indigestion.
You don't want to take that medicine because you and the doc have been enemies for years. You won't give him the satisfaction of treating you, even if it means...
Please, Kathy. Don't you think I'm old enough to know my own mind?
But Kathy's right, Martin. You should take your medicine.
Oh, now you start. I'm going for a walk.
I'll go with you.
I don't want company.
Now he's mad.
Oh, don't take it to heart. He'll get over it.
I wish he hadn't gone out in this weather.
Yeah. I think it's getting worse. I'll go call him back.
Stephen, what's that noise?
I don't know. It was just outside the house. It's our cedar tree. That last flash of lightning struck it. There seems to be... Kathy!
What? Move away from the door so I can see too.
No, Kathy, please. Stay in here a minute. I'll go out.
Oh, I'll go with you.
I think I see something beside the cedar. Come on, Kathy.
Stephen, it can't be.
Yes, Kathy. It's Martin. He's dead.
The tree?
It didn't touch him. He died from the shock of it falling so close. It was heartbreaking.
Strange, isn't it? The last tombstone he ever carved was his own. We buried Martin the next evening. There weren't many mourners. We lived too far from town to be well acquainted. At last, the few who'd come went away and left Stephen and me alone at the grave. They've all gone.
Your eyes are all red, Kathy.
Do you suppose he likes where we buried him? Right across the road from the house?
I'm sure he does. He can sort of watch us from here if he gets lonely.
It won't be us much longer, Stephen.
What do you mean?
Well, I can't stay here with just you. It isn't proper.
Kathy, you know I wouldn't...
Oh, I know, but what'll people think?
I don't care about people. They're not important.
Well, they are to me. I have a good reputation, Stephen, and I don't
Kathy, don't leave me.
Oh, but I must.
Losing Martin was unbearable, but if I lost you, I'd have nothing left.
I'm sorry, Stephen.
There'd be no one to care if I live or die. If you go, I'll be all alone.
You'll find another housekeeper.
Housekeeper? Oh, Kathy, dearest, don't be such a little fool.
I'm not a fool.
You are if you can't see how much I love you.
You love me? Oh, no.
How could I help it? You're sweet and fresh and lovely. And I never knew before what joy it was to watch a woman. Anything you do, the way you walk and laugh, even the way you get angry. It's beautiful.
Oh, keep away from me. I don't know what's come over you.
I was content just having you about the house, being near you, but now... Oh, my darling, you mustn't go away.
Oh, please don't look at me like that. Please, Stephen.
Dearest, let's get married. I'll make you happy.
No, I don't love you. Don't touch me. Oh, I like you a lot. I'm very fond of you, but... Well, it's not love. I could never love you.
Why, Kathy? I'll make you a good husband.
Oh, no, Stephen, no. You're twice my age.
But I'd worship you, Kathy, dearest.
Oh, will you quit bawling Kathy, dearest, at me like a lost lamb? I'm going to the house and pack my things.
I won't let you go. You belong to me.
I don't belong to anyone. If you don't get out of my way, I'll throw this rock at you.
There's someone else. You love someone else.
No, Stephen, I just don't love you. Don't come near me. I'll throw it, I swear.
Kathy, no!
I told you I would, didn't I? Why couldn't you believe me? Well, get up. Stephen. He was lying on his back, motionless. I bent over him and... his face, the rock had caught him between the eyes. I couldn't think. I was terrified. I only knew that Stephen was dead, that I had killed him. A murderess, that's what everybody would say. They'd put me on trial, all those faces gaping at me like I wasn't human, and then they'd... No. Had to get out of here. The road past the graveyard. If I followed it, I'd reach the main highway. I'd run. I'd run so fast no one would catch me. Oh, it was dark. The body wouldn't be found till morning. By then I'd be far away. Had to keep moving. Had to. Where could I go? Where could I hide? Flying down the road for hours and hours till my legs were numb and my heart tearing at my chest, deafening me with its thunder. No, that wasn't my heart. It was a car. They were looking for me. Somehow they'd found Stephen already. Oh, it was getting nearer and nearer. I slipped behind a tree. Not police. Not police at all. Picnickers. Oh, the only ones who might have seen me. They'll forget they even passed this way once they're safe at home. Safe at home. Suddenly, I realized what a fool I'd been. I couldn't escape a police dragnet by running away. They'd never stop looking for me. The best place to hide was at home. Why, of course. I'd gone back to the house from the funeral and straight to bed. Stephen had decided to stay at the grave a while longer. Everyone in town knew he liked to wander through the cemetery, and especially tonight, with Martin just buried. He must have caught a prowler, and the man had thrown a rock at him. That's how it happened. I felt perfectly calm. I turned around and started back. The sky had been cloudy all evening, but as I walked up the road toward home, it cleared. I remember how lovely the moonlight looked, spilling down the steps of the house. I started to climb them. Suddenly, I had an impelling desire to see Stephen's body. Oh, I tried to fight it, but the thought of him, cold and crumpled, lying like some cast-off doll in an attic, hypnotized me. I went down the stairs and started across the road. He had been lying at the foot of Martin's grave, I remembered. From where I was, I couldn't make out the body. Oh, that wasn't right. The old man was buried directly across from the house. I should be able to see Stephen. I slipped through the gate, hurried to where the corpse had lain. It was gone. There wasn't a trace of it. I dropped to my hands and knees, searching about the new mound of earth for some proof that it hadn't all been a nightmare, that I'd really killed Stephen. There wasn't anything. No matted grass where the blood should have dried, nothing fallen from his pockets, not even the stone with which I'd struck him. And it was so quiet, so deathly quiet, with the moon whitewashing Martin's headstone, and the one next to it. The one next to it. But there hadn't been any grave there before. And this one was fresh. As fresh as Martin's. I slowly raised my eyes and looked at the tombstone.
Stephen Corey, born May 9th, 1901. Died April 20th, 1944.
Why, I'd know that carving anywhere. Martin was dead. But Martin had made that gravestone.
Kathy stands in the moonlight, staring at the grave plaque of Stephen Corey, a plaque identical with the one Martin had made for himself before he died.
And yet, how could Martin have carved that headstone? He had not made one for Stephen before he died, I knew that. Still, Stephen had been buried, and the date on the monument was right. I felt the answer, but I pushed it back away from my mind. It couldn't be true that Martin had kept his promise even now and had carved the stone. That these dead who were Stephen's friends had buried him. Had he loved me so he wouldn't make me pay for what I'd done? Did he plead with them to cover him so I'd not be found out? I didn't know. I was paralyzed with fright. I had to get out of here back to the house before I lost my sanity. I don't know how long I lay there, cowering in my bed. At last, the darkness of the night closed in about me, and I slept. But then, out of the darkness, the doorbell rang. Sharp sounds sent a streak of fear over my flesh. The police had come. Stephen's grave had been discovered. I had to go to the door.
Are you Catherine Holland? I'm Estelle Bailey, Martin's sister.
Oh, yes, I should have known. Come in, Mrs. Bailey.
Stephen sent me a telegram this afternoon about Martin's death, and I took the first train out here. I'm sorry if I woke you.
Oh, that's quite all right. Come in. I know it's been a long trip. Perhaps I can fix you a bite to eat.
No, thank you. I'd like you to take me to see the grave right away.
Martin's grave? Now?
Miss Holland, I hadn't seen Martin for 9 years. I'm ashamed of that, and I want to rectify it now as soon as I can. If you won't take me, perhaps Mr. Corey will.
Oh, he's not here. He's in town.
Well, I'll wait up till he comes in.
Oh, you'll wait a long time.
I don't understand.
Oh, Stephen was quite shocked by your brother's death, you know, and, well, he felt he had to get away from this house, so, well, he mightn't be back tonight.
But if he went into town, why didn't he meet me at the station as he wrote he would?
Well, I don't know. Every moment she sat there, she'd think more and more about Stephen's absence. I had to distract her the only way I could. I had to take the chance that she wouldn't notice that other headstone. But if she did notice it, I would have to kill her, too. But just then something happened to spare us both.
Oh, good heavens. Oh, look, it's raining again.
Yes, the moon's gone in. It's pitch black outside.
Then there's no use going into the cemetery, I suppose.
I'm afraid not, Mrs. Bailey. What a shame. Finally, she went upstairs. I waited until I knew she slept. Then I took a spade and crept across to the cemetery. It was wet and cold, but I didn't notice the weather. For I had a scheme. A very clever scheme. I was going to dig up someone else's headstone as well as Stephen's and switch the two. I couldn't disguise his new-made grave, but at least I'd conceal who was buried there. It was just before dawn when I slipped back to the house. Mrs. Bailey woke me about 8, and together we went into the cemetery. I came up level with the graves, and... Oh, no. No, it couldn't be. Well, I'd switched them last night.
Stephen Corey, born May 9th, 1901. Died April 20th, 1944.
His headstone. Exactly where it had been before. But I had dug it up. There were blisters on my hands to prove it. Mrs. Bailey, had she noticed? No. She'd gone right to her brother's grave and stood staring at it, wiping away the tears.
I'm very glad of one thing, Miss Holland, that Martin is buried a little apart from everyone else. He liked to be alone most of the time, you know. Even in death, he would prefer solitude and being isolated from all the others.
Solitude? Isolated from all the others? But Stephen was lying right by his side. She couldn't see Stephen's headstone. It was incredible, but it was true.
Come, Miss Holland, it's raining. We might as well go now. I'll take the early train back to the city.
After she'd gone, the house was empty, yet full of a screaming silence. And I sat looking out at the grayness of the lonesome day. Had there really been a grave at all? Growing inside me was a grim fascination to see. The mud sucked at my shoes. Through the dusk, I walked determinedly toward that spot where the headstone stood. I slipped through the fence. Then I was standing beside the tree, leaning against it. For I couldn't believe what I saw. There, beside the others, stood a third headstone, and stretching almost at my feet, a freshly dug grave. Even before I crept forward to see, I knew what the plaque would say. Catherine Holland, born June 7th, 1923, dead April 21st, 1945. Tonight. April 21st. That was tonight. And I was still alive. Martin, listen to me wherever you are. I said I'd be with you always, but you can't force me to follow you. You can't force me to follow you. Tears filled my eyes. I took hold of the hateful stone and tried to flatten it into the ground, Then through the tears, I saw the dark bruises on my hands. Bruises on my hands, but, well, it wasn't possible that... I touched one of the dark splotches. It rubbed away. Then the truth went through my mind. I fell to my knees. The letters I thought were carved into the stone. They too were blurred. I drew my finger along my name. It was lettered in black crayon. Thick, archaic lettering, darker toward the middle than at the edges, giving the illusion of depth. Giving the illusion of being cut into the stone. Then that's how Stephen's headstone was made. That's how. I stood up. Fear fell over me like a cold, wet sheet. Behind this adventure was a human being. A being like myself. Then I saw the thing in the grass, sending a tiny sparkle toward the dust-filled sky, and greedily I picked it up. A copper-colored metal cap from an eyebrow pencil. So that was how the letters had been drawn. That was how this thing had happened. Then I knew who had done it. And even before I turned to look, I knew she was standing there, staring at me, unmoving, a thin smile on her lips, her eyebrows thin, too, penciled on with surety and deftness.
Turn around, Miss Holland. I see you have guessed the truth.
It was you. You killed him.
But do you think my conscience will hurt me as yours does? Would it make your death any easier to know you didn't kill Stephen Corey?
I don't understand you.
I'm telling you the truth. I came into the cemetery just as the last visitor left, and I saw you throw the rock at Corey. I saw you run for the road. You hadn't killed him, Miss Holland. He was only unconscious. But I made sure he was dead before I buried him.
Then you dug the grave here. That spade in your hand.
Will serve a double purpose. I shall kill you with it.
Just as you murdered Corey. Why? Why did you kill him?
Because Martin had willed all the family property to Corey, with the provision that when he died, it would return to me. I knew if his body weren't discovered, they'd think you and he had run away together. Then I'd have to wait for him to be declared legally dead.
And so you put up the plaque?
I felt sure I could persuade the county coroner to file a death certificate quietly. Then I'd show my lawyer the grave, show him that Corey, too, was dead. But you came back, so I have to kill you, too. Now you know the truth. Your time has come.
That spade, Mrs. Bailey.
Is for you, Miss Holland.
Stay back from me. Stay back.
I'm going to kill you.
I'm not afraid, Mrs. Bailey. You're real. I can fight you.
This will be your grave, and I shall bury you in it.
Give me that spade. Give it to me. Go here. I said that spade. Mrs. Bailey. My eyes were clouded with flashes of blackness. I lay on the ground, feeling the cold, wet earth against my cheek. Without warning, it had happened. One wall of the grave gave way, and she lost her balance and fell forward into the gaping hole. Dirt from the mound began rolling down, clods of it covering the edges of her long skirt. And she lay still, silenced, at the bottom of the grave. A few wet clods of earth were still slowly tumbling down, as if they had an intelligence of their own, an intelligence that told them to bury the dead. Bury the dead. For she was dead, and she had died instantly. Her neck twisted beneath her loosened, flowing hair that hid the hideous sight of her eyebrows, thin and long. Her neck was broken, and she lay in the grave she had meant for me. Perhaps, now I've told it, I can forget the horror of what's happened. But not soon. Not soon. One way Martin was right. In my brain, He and Stephen will be with me always.
From shadows and stillness, mystery weaves a spell of strangest fascination, charging the mind with doubts and fears. For mystery is a strange companion, a living memory in the haunting hour. No, stay where you are. Do not break the stillness of this moment, for this is a time of mystery, a time when imagination is free and moves forward swiftly, silently. This is the haunting hour. The shoe fits. It is early Sunday morning in the home of Mr. and Mrs. Destos. Mr. Destos is dressing hurriedly while his wife prepares breakfast. Suddenly he calls to her.
Helena! Helena!
Gregory, please do not call like that. Come here to the kitchen.
Helena, I cannot find my charm. Did you see it?
How many times will I tell you, Gregory? On Sunday morning, people want to sleep a little. They do not want to hear other people screaming.
But don't you hear? I have lost my lucky piece, Helena.
Oh, you mean the little coin that you brought to America from Greece?
Yes.
Here are your eggs.
Yes, but where is it?
Oh, I have not seen it. Perhaps you lost it.
No, I must find it. It has brought me all the good luck we have had here, and I can never replace it. It's the only one of its kind.
Well, you should not have been so careless.
That is the remark of a fool. Never mind with you, I'll find it myself.
Gregory, it is the first time since we were married 3 years ago you speak to me like that.
Oh, well, forgive me, Helena. I did not mean that. It is just that the little coin means so much to me. And I'm in such a hurry, I don't know what I am saying.
Are you going to the shop again this Sunday?
Yeah, I must. There is so much to be done. I am making more shoes now than ever before, and it is important that I build up our little business and put away some money in case of need.
You will need it for doctor bills, Gregory, if you work like this. Day and night and Sundays as well. A man must have his rest.
You know how we say, Helena. Never cross your luck. I am now getting the finest clientele in this city. They cannot wait for the shoes. The orders must be filled, and I work alone.
What good is all the money if I never see you?
Well, that question you will have to ask Mr. Bollitt.
Mr. Bollitt? You mean...
Yes, Helena. I mean the richest, most important man in the city. Oh. I told you already I was working for his assistant, Mr. McIntyre.
Mr. McIntyre, I have found out, is not Mr. Bollitt's assistant, but his bodyguard.
Well, so what is the difference? He promised he would get me the business of Mr. Bollitt, and he did.
You mean you have seen Mr. Bollitt?
Sure, many times.
Oh.
In fact, I am already making shoes for his whole family.
Tell me, Gregory,
Hmm?
why does a man like Mr. Bollitt need a bodyguard like Mr. McIntyre?
Oh, what do I know, Helena? You know what it is with big, important men. They must be careful. And now I must go.
When will you be home, Gregory?
I don't know, Helena. We will have to see. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Gregory.
Mr. Destus live here?
Yes.
Is he home?
Could I ask, please, your name?
I'm Mr. Bollitt.
Oh, Mr. Bollitt. Oh, come in, please.
Come in, McIntyre.
Right. Where's your husband, Mrs. Destus?
He is not home.
You're lying.
I do not lie.
Just a minute, McIntyre. Where is your husband, Mrs. Destus?
I do not know.
I tell you, she's covering up, boss. Let me go through the house.
Just a minute. Mrs. Destus, do you recognize this coin?
Oh, it is my husband's good luck piece. But where did you get it?
Told you it belonged to him, boss.
That's all I want to hear. You know what to do, McIntyre.
Don't worry, I'll take care of him.
What is wrong? What has my husband done?
Don't worry, he won't do it again. And don't forget, McIntyre, if you don't find him before the day's over, there'll be a new man in your place tomorrow.
I told you not to worry, boss.
I'll be waiting to hear from you. Don't make it too long.
We might as well go inside and sit down, Mrs. Destus.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to wait for your husband.
I mean, after he gets here.
Well, don't you worry about that. Whatever I do, you should be glad I did it.
I do not understand.
All right. You want to know what's up? I'll tell you. That husband of yours is a no-good, two-timing double-crosser. Now do you understand?
No.
He's running around with other women.
Gregory? With other women?
And that ain't all. If he wants to run around with other women, that's his own business. But when he starts fooling around with the boss's daughter, that's going too far.
My husband is going with Mr. Bollitt's daughter?
Mm-hmm. An 18-year-old kid.
Oh, no, but it is impossible. Gregory works all the time. In the night, in the day. How could he be able to go with anybody?
All depends what kind of work he's doing at night. Could be working at having a good time, you know.
But he's doing what you say. Why shouldn't he tell me? He's not afraid.
Maybe he's not afraid of you, but there's other people. We don't like anybody stepping in where they don't belong. See what I mean?
Yes.
Nothing is more important to Bollitt than his daughter Marion. There's nothing too good for her. And he didn't set her up like this for some little jerk shoemaker to cash in on everything.
But Gregory is my husband. How could he
That's just what makes it so tough. You see, whatever he's going to get, he's got it coming to him.
But how did you find out all this?
And that lucky coin he carries around?
Oh,
Only this time it ain't so lucky.
you knew it was his?
Mm-hmm. He showed it to me. Told me there wasn't another one like it in the country. And naturally, when Bollitt found it on his daughter's dressing table, it was a dead giveaway.
Oh, I see.
Now, there's no reason why you should take a beating for this, Mrs. Destus. Certainly ain't your fault. And I ain't getting any kick out of telling you. But for your own good, you might as well know what's happening.
Oh, thank you.
Where are you going?
I do not feel very good. I'm going out in the street for some air.
All right, I'm coming. Now, have you no patience to... Helena, is something wrong?
Close the door.
Yes, but you... Now, what is it, Helena? You are so pale.
Mr. Bollitt is looking for you. He came to our house.
Oh? What did he want?
He came with his assistant, Mr. McIntyre. They have found out that you are going out with Mr. Bollitt's daughter.
Me? I am going out with...
Please, Gregory,
There is no need to try and hide it from me any longer. I know.
Oh, you are fooling.
First, I thought they were fooling. Then they showed me the lucky coin you had lost. Mr. Bollitt's daughter had it.
Oh, what you are saying, Helena, is so strange.
It does not matter. I have come to warn you. Beyond that, I have no further duty. You had better not come home. Mr. McIntyre is waiting there for you.
Mr. McIntyre? Oh, but then I should go to the police. They cannot do such things in America.
What would you tell the police? Do you think they would like to hear our married man is going with a single girl?
Helena, you do not believe that, do you?
Mr. Bollitt is not so much a fool as I. I thought you were working.
But, Helena, no, there is nothing for me outside of my work and you. I swear, Helena, I have never even seen the girl. I do not even know what she looks like.
Only this morning you told me you were making shoes for all of Mr. Bollitt's family.
Yes, that is true. But for the daughter, I have been getting the measurements from an old pair of shoes.
Oh.
Sure, that is why Mr. Bollitt has been so pleased with my work. He says there is nobody but me who makes custom shoes to fit so perfect by just looking at an old pair.
Oh, perhaps it is true.
Would you believe them before me, Helena?
I do not know.
It is something we do not see that is behind this. But that does not matter now. It matters only that you believe me. Oh, we have gone through so much together, Helena. How could you think that I would do such a thing to you?
But there is the coin. How did the girl happen to have it?
That is what I must find out. And I must get it back.
No, Gregory. You cannot do that. You must forget about it.
But why? It is mine and it has brought me luck.
No, you have not seen the face of Mr. McIntyre. I have seen that kind of face before. I know what he has in his mind. It is not good.
But what am I to do, Helena? I cannot go away and leave you.
You must, Gregory. You cannot even come home. You must leave right away. Then, when you find a place, you will write to me. And I will follow.
How do I know what they will do to you if I leave?
Oh, I will be all right.
Then, if you say so, I will go, Helena.
Listen, here is all the money I have with me. You will go right from here to the railroad station.
I did not think that here in America we would have to... Goodbye, my Helena.
Hurry. There is not much. Mr. McIntyre.
Do not say anything.
Just going out for a little walk, huh, Mrs. Destis? Led me right to him.
What do you want, Mr. McIntyre?
I'll tell you later. Get your hat and coat.
No, you cannot take him.
No? Maybe this will convince you that I can.
You're going to kill him. No, I'm
Helena. Helena, you must not try to do anything. You cannot fight a revolver.
Now you're being smart, Destis. Let's go. Get into that car outside.
Goodbye, Helena. Don't worry.
Gregory. Oh, my Gregory.
Gregory Destos, a custom shoemaker, has become strangely involved with the young daughter of the wealthy and unscrupulous Henry Bollitt. And though Destos has denied any knowledge of the affair to his wife, he is forced at the point of the revolver to go off in the custody of Bollitt's so-called bodyguard, McIntyre, who has been assigned to take care of Destos. Now, after walking the streets aimlessly, thinking of something to do, Mrs. Destos returns home.
Gregory, what have you done? How did you get back here?
I have done nothing, Helena. Mr. McIntyre brought me here.
But why did he do that? I thought...
Listen to me. He, too, believes that I have been seeing Mr. Bollitt's daughter.
Oh.
And as a favor to me, Mr. McIntyre will give us time to leave the city. But we must never come back. I do not understand it. I do not think he likes Mr. Bollitt very much. But even so, why should he let me go?
What reason did he give?
He said it was because I made him the most perfect shoes he ever wore.
So, that is your reward. To go away and never come back.
He says that if Mr. Bullitt ever finds out that I am here, it will be the end for all of us.
But if Mr. McIntyre is such a good friend, Gregory, why was he the one to tell Mr. Bullitt that you were seeing the daughter?
He told Mr. Bullitt?
Yes. When Mr. Bullitt found the lucky charm in his daughter's room, it was Mr. McIntyre who told him it belonged to you.
Oh. And I don't understand.
Gregory, it is clear that... Who is that?
I will answer it.
Gregory.
There is no use to hide anymore, Helena. It has to be this way.
Are you Mr. Destis?
Yes.
Well, here's part of what you deserve.
Oh, why did you hit him?
That's only the beginning. Get up from the floor, Destis. Quick.
Fred, no, don't.
Why not? It's coming to him, isn't it?
But that's the wrong man. That isn't the one.
Oh, gosh. Oh, here, let me help you up.
Has everyone gone mad?
Oh, you're Mrs. Destis, aren't you?
Yes.
I'm Marion Bollitt.
Oh, you are Mr. Bullitt's daughter.
Yes. And I'm terribly sorry for what Mr. Potter just did. You see, he's a friend of mine, and he was just trying to help me.
You see, I thought you were the one who had sent Miss Bullitt that note.
No? What note?
The one in which you demanded $1,000.
I demanded $1,000?
Oh, no. You see, my father wants me to go out only with people he approves of. Now, I know he wouldn't approve of Fred, because Freddie isn't rich enough. So we haven't told Dad that we go out together.
But what has that got to do with my husband?
Well, the other day, I got a letter saying that if I didn't leave $1,000 at a certain place, the writer would tell my father all about me and Fred.
And you thought I was the person who wrote that letter?
Well, I went to the spot. It was 5 miles outside the city limits, behind the deserted Hamilton house. And I left $200 there, with a note saying that I'd leave more today. Then I drove off at a distance and sat in my car watching.
And you saw the man?
Yes. Although I couldn't identify him from that distance, I do know that he was much bigger than you. But when he left, I went back to see if he'd found the money.
And he had, all right.
And while I was looking, I found a Greek coin that he dropped. So I put it in my purse and later left it in my bedroom where Father found it. That was when I first learned it belonged to you.
Then why did you come here?
Well, I had to. I was going to give you the rest of the money to make sure you didn't talk to my father. But now I know you're not the man.
So, it was someone else who took away your lucky coin, Gregory, to make it look like you?
Yes.
Well, I'd sure like to lay my hands on him.
I think I am beginning to see why Mr. McIntyre wants me to go away.
Are you talking about my father's assistant?
Yes. He wants my husband to leave the city. Your father thinks that Gregory is going out with you.
But how would he get an idea like that?
Mr. McIntyre advised him.
Then, do you think that...
Why, of course. It's as clear as the nose on your face.
But what can we do?
Wait, I have an idea. Where did you say you left the $200, Miss Bullitt?
Behind the old deserted Hamilton house. You know where that is, don't you?
Yes. Yes, it has been empty for many years now, has it not?
At least 5 years.
But how can that help us?
What time is it now?
It's 6 o'clock.
Uh-huh. It will be light for about 1 hour more.
You mean you want to go out there tonight?
Miss Bullitt, you said that you were bringing the money to me.
Yes, I thought that you
would you let me bring the money to the Hamilton house and place it there for you?
You want us to go with you?
If you will allow me, I would rather go alone.
You mean you're going to wait there and see if you can catch him?
While it is light, I will wait. If he does not come then, I will go back to my shop, and I will be working there all night.
And what do you want us to do?
If you do not hear from me tonight, I would like you to take Miss Bullitt to the Hamilton house tomorrow and see if the money is gone. If it is, I would like you to come to my store and tell me the first thing in the morning.
All right. Here's the money, and then we'll go along.
Good night, and thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Oh, are you sure you're doing the right thing, Gregory?
Yes, Helena.
Do you want me to stay here?
No. No, I want you to come with me.
Oh, what can I do there?
You will see. Come, Helena. Come.
It is darkening quickly, Gregory.
Yes, I must work quickly. Here. Here is the place where Miss Bullitt must have put the money last time. Now, we put this in the same place. Yes, so. And now, you stay here, Helena.
Here? Are we going to wait for him to come?
No.
But where are you going, Gregory?
There is something I must find.
What is it?
It must be here.
But
Why must I stay here?
Because I do not want you to... Uh-huh. Yes, I found it. The man has left something he didn't know about. Come here, Helena.
What have you found?
It had to be here. Look. Look, do you see what I mean?
Oh, yes, Gregory. I see what you mean.
As soon as I have it, we will go back to the shop. I will be working all night, Helena. All night.
It's 8:30 in the morning, Gregory.
Yes.
At this time every morning, the shop is already open.
Huh? Oh, yes. Yes, Helena, you better unlock the door.
Unlock it? But if Mr. McIntyre comes here and finds you, what then?
I think now we are ready for Mr. McIntyre, Helena.
I hope so.
Who is that?
Oh, it's Miss Bollitt and the young man.
Good. Let them in.
It's gone, Mrs. Destus. We looked all over. It was gone.
My husband has been working all night.
Well, this is a fine time to be fixing shoes, Destus.
I am just finishing.
But what are we going to do now? Now that we know the rest of the money is gone.
I expect that in a few minutes your father will be here.
How do you know that?
After what has already happened, he must be following you.
But you know that we don't want to be seen together. Why didn't you say this before?
Because Mr. Bollitt is interested in me, not you.
Well, Marion, I think it's best that we get out of here.
All right, Freddie. If you think we...
All right, Destus. Took me a long time to catch up with you, but I finally did.
I am not running away, Mr. McIntyre.
Marion, how can you come to this man's place at this hour of the morning?
Why shouldn't I? Mr. Destus is trying to help me track down a criminal who's been blackmailing me.
Blackmailing you?
Yes, and trying to incriminate Mr. Destus at the same time by leaving his possessions where I could find them.
You talking about that Greek coin? You mean he didn't give it to you?
No, he didn't. I found it.
Wait a minute. You mean somebody's been blackmailing you and trying to throw the blame on Destus?
Yes, Mr. Bollitt. And now I think I am able to find out who the man is.
How can a shoemaker suddenly become a detective?
I know very little besides making shoes, Mr. McIntyre. I make them to live. But now I have made one to save my life.
What are you talking about?
I went to the place where your daughter left the blackmail money. There I found something that the man did not know about. 2 footprints. One hers, one somebody else. I have made shoes in many different ways. But until today, never from a footprint.
You mean the shoe you've been working on all night is measured from that footprint?
Measured so carefully, Miss Bollitt, that it could not be worn by anybody else. You see, the print had a special high arch, and the pressure was greatest on the left side of the heel. Because of this, the toes on the right side were longer than average.
Well, suppose you're right. Who are you going to try the shoe on?
I would like to start with the men here. If it is all right, I would like to see if it fits Mr. McIntyre.
That's the screwiest thing I ever heard of.
Take your shoe off, McIntyre. Go ahead, Destus.
Thank you. Let me have the shoe, Helena.
Oh, here. And the shoehorn?
No. No, that will not be needed. Press, Mr. McIntyre.
I'm pressing. It just won't go, that's all.
Uh-huh. Will you remove your shoe, Mr. Potter?
Do you mean that Fred... Oh, why, that's preposterous.
Let him have his fun, Marion. There.
Press, Mr. Potter.
I am pressing, but it doesn't go.
Of course, it's silly to suspect it.
One moment. Mr. Potter, will you uncurl your toes? So. And now, the shoe fits.
It is amazing how you fashioned that shoe from a simple footprint, Destus.
I think, Mr. Bollitt, that he will never find another shoe to fit him as well.
I'm afraid that it won't matter so much where he's going. I suppose McIntyre's turned him over to the police by now.
But I still don't see how Mr. Destus could find out all that information from a single shoe print. How did you know that Fred had the blackmail money in his pocket?
Oh, I did not know that. I knew only that the blackmail money had been taken away from the place where I left it. But from the beginning, Mr. Potter's face was familiar. Then I remembered the day my lucky coin disappeared, there was a man in my shop, and he was asking me for prices. Tell me, Miss Bollitt, did Mr. Potter ever have a mustache?
Why, yes. He just shaved it off a few days ago.
And sometimes he wears glasses?
That's right.
Of course, I could not ask these questions before.
Naturally. But that proves conclusively he was the man. You deserve a lot of credit for this, Destus, and I'll see that you get it, too. Well, come along, Marion. Perhaps you'll listen to me in the future.
Goodbye, Mr. and Mrs. Destin.
Goodbye.
Oh, Gregory, it is over. Like being free again. Is it not wonderful?
So wonderful, Helena. I think I will take a holiday. We will go home now and go to sleep.
From shadows and stillness, mystery weaves a spell of strangest fascination, charging the mind with doubts and fears. For mystery is a strange companion, a living memory in the haunting hour. No, stay where you are. Do not break the stillness of this moment, for this is a time of mystery, a time when imagination is free and moves forward swiftly, silently. This is the haunting hour. Breakdown. Sybil Wells' gray head lies wearily on her pillow. Her eyelids are closed, as if it were too great an effort to lift them. She can hear Dr. Adams and her nurse talking, but they seem distant, remote, much farther away than the thoughts in her own brain.
She'll be all right now, nurse. Just give her this every hour.
Very well, Dr. Adams. It's amazing she's pulled through, isn't it? I've been ill. Very ill. For how long, I could not even guess.
It was a close call, but then she's always had a good constitution. I've known her for many years.
Since I was 20. Since before it happened to Father.
No, it's not her physical health that worries me. She's always been high-strung, nervous, like her father was, before, well, I suppose you know.
Not my physical health. What does he mean? Why must he tell her that Father died in an insane asylum?
Poor Mr. Courtney. His family had to commit him. Mad as a March hare, of course. But each time I'd visit his cell, he'd plead that he was sane.
Yes, he'd plead he was sane. And his eyes would be wild and desperate. And dead of hope.
Sybil, I'm not mad. You're the only one who loves me, who cares if I live or die. Please, make the doctor understand. I've been railroaded here, Sybil, because I had money and they wanted it.
Oh, Daddy, I have to go now.
You don't believe me. You don't believe me either.
Oh, of course I do.
No. Oh, Lord, if you could only know how it feels to live among these dead and be considered one.
Oh, Daddy, please, please. I must go now. Goodbye.
Oh, Sybil. Sybil, I swear I'm sane. Sybil, I'm sane. I swear.
Tragic case. Well, I'll drop in tomorrow to see how she's doing.
Madness. The horror of vacuum. I guess I'd always feared it. I was sitting up in bed now. Except for the weakness, I could hardly recall that I'd been ill. Good morning, Nurse Curran.
Good morning, Mrs. Wells. I'll take that breakfast tray. And I think you're well enough to have the morning paper if you wish.
Oh, thank you. I haven't seen one for weeks. I settled back against the pillows and began to read. Earthquake, followed by fire, was yesterday for 33 miles along the shore. 14 people were many more injured. Authorities have the damage $4 million. It didn't make sense. I read another sentence, and then a different article. What was wrong with me? Oh, of course, my eyes. I'd been ill for so long, that's all it was. Nurse! Mrs. Curran! Yes, Mrs. Wells? Nurse, will you please read this newspaper to me?
Why, of course. Is anything wrong? You look so...
Oh, no, everything's fine. It's just my eyes.
I see. Well, what shall I read?
This one.
Earthquake followed by fire was yesterday for 33 miles.
She read on. Her face was grave and slightly bored. She showed no surprise, no puzzlement. The words made sense to her. It was only I who couldn't understand them. Only I to whom they were a senseless jumble.
People learning...
Stop it! I don't want to hear anymore. Please, just leave me alone, Nurse Curran.
But, Mrs. Wells...
Leave me alone, I tell you! Leave me alone! That was the first discrepancy in my mind. I don't know how long I'd been hearing the music. It had seemed all part of a dream. But then it began to unnerve me. It became frenzied and hating and evil. It sounded like all the demons of hell and the things of the night were after me. Make it stop! Make it go away! Please!
Wells, what's the matter?
Oh, it's all right now. It's all right. The music's gone away.
The music? What music?
For a few days after that, it didn't bother me. Not till early one evening. I'd rung for Nurse Curran twice. Where was she? I was very angry. I got out of bed and went across the room to the door. Mrs. Curran! She was walking down the hall, her back toward me. And she had my little daughter by the hand. Elsie, my baby. Her sailor hat was bobbing over her curls as she skipped. She had on a blue flouncy dress and the long white stockings and Mary Jane she loved to wear. Elsie! Elsie, darling! Mrs. Curran! Why didn't they stop? They walked right on as if I hadn't spoken. Nurse! They turned the corner, then out of my sight. I began to run. Do you hear me? Stop, Mrs. Curran. I want to talk to you.
Why, whatever is the matter, Mrs. Wells?
Where's Elsie?
Elsie?
Yes, my daughter. I saw you walking down the hall with her, and then you turned this corner, and now she's gone. Where is she?
I assure you, Mrs. Wells, I was with no one. As a matter of fact, I didn't know you have a daughter.
Oh. Well, I haven't anymore. She was drowned with her father 20 years ago. I knew I had to be more cautious after that. For if Nurse Curran ever suspected, she'd tell the doctor. And I'd seen enough of those walls when I was a girl.
Well, how are you, Sybil? How does it feel to be downstairs for dinner?
Oh, if you're ready to eat, I'll start serving.
Why, Mrs. Curran, you needn't do that. Where's Mary?
Well, there wasn't much for her to do with you ill, Mrs. Wells, so when she asked to visit her sister for a few weeks, I didn't want to disturb you with details.
Oh, I see. That's all right, Mrs. Curran.
Then I'll get the soup.
Sybil, I've been worried about you.
Worried? Really?
You're not recuperating as quickly as you should. And, well, Curran's been telling me things that...
Yes. What has she said?
Oh, nothing much, really, but perhaps you're a bit more ill than we thought.
So she had noticed. I must be careful, very careful. Whatever happens, I must never let them send me there.
I said, will you have your soup, Mrs. Wells?
Oh, yes, please.
And you, Doctor?
Yes, thank you.
I took my first spoonful and could barely swallow it. The soup tasted far too salty. I was about to remark as much to the doctor when he said...
Delicious soup, Sybil.
Delicious. Oh, of course, George. Of course.
Sybil, what's wrong? You've hardly touched a thing all through dinner.
Well, I guess I'm just not very hungry. Salt. Everything tasted of salt. First my sight, then my hearing, and now even this sense was playing me false. How long could I go on hiding what was happening to me? I think I should have resigned myself to insanity. If the very next afternoon I hadn't wakened early from my nap. I wanted some warm milk, and when Mrs. Curran didn't answer my ring, I went down to the kitchen myself. Nurse Curran, is that you? Oh, it was a child. A little blonde girl who greatly resembled my daughter. She was playing with a toy tea set.
Mother isn't here right now. She's gone to the village for some groceries. Would you like to have tea with me? It's only make-believe, of course.
Mrs. Curran is your mother?
Yes, I'm Jean.
She never told me she had a daughter, nor that the child was living in my house with her.
Here's your tea. Sugar or cream? Oh, I forgot. You only take salt in your food.
I only take salt? What do you mean, dear? I don't quite understand.
Oh, my mother explained to me. I asked her why she put so much salt in everything she brought you to eat last night. And that's what she said, that you only take salt in your food.
Jeannie, are you sure of that?
Yes, of course. I know who you are. You're Mrs. Wells, the funny lady we had to play a game with.
What kind of a game, Jeannie?
Well, dressing me in those funny clothes Mother found in the attic. Not looking around when you called to us. And then, when we turned the corner, I had to pop right into the linen closet and not make a sound until Mother called. It was like hide and seek. Only you didn't find me.
Yes, it had been a hideous, twisted parody of hide and seek. But at last I knew. I was not going mad. I had been terrified, blundering in the dark against an unknown opponent. But the game was clear to me now, and the rules, and the tricks, and most vital of all, my foe. Nurse Curran had tried to drive me mad, was still trying, but I could fight her. I had to fight her, for the stake was my sanity.
Mommy now.
Now, Jeannie, listen to me. Your mother mustn't know I was down here talking to you.
Why, Mrs. Wells? Why shouldn't I tell her? Why, Mrs. Wells? Why shouldn't I tell her?
Well, it's a game, Jeannie. It's like that hide and seek we played, remember? Please promise you won't say anything about my seeing you this afternoon.
I promise. I promise, Mrs. Wells.
needed patience now, and cunning. Mrs. Curran was trying to destroy my reason. I couldn't let her succeed, but I needed definite evidence. And then one day, a letter came. A letter? From me, Mrs. Curran?
Yes, it's postmarked New York City.
Well, now, who would be writing me from there? It's from my brother, Frank. He's coming to see me and bringing a friend of his along. Someone who can help me, he says.
When does he arrive, Mrs. Wells?
On the 24th, the 3:30 train.
Well, he didn't give you much warning. That's today, you know.
I wonder why he's coming.
You're his sister, and you're ill. What better reason?
Frank and I have always loathed each other. He's not traveling all this way for affection's sake.
It might be nice if I met the train.
Well, if you think he'd appreciate it, you're very much mistaken. By the time you get there, he'll probably have chartered the most expensive car in town anyway. Frank's a spendthrift and a wastrel. He ran through his share of my father's estate before Daddy was cold in his grave.
Just the same, it would be a nice thing to do, wouldn't it, Mrs. Wells?
Well, you know where the car keys are if you insist on being polite. Go ahead and meet him. Yes?
Special delivery for Mrs. Agnes Curran. That's your nurse, ain't it, Miss Wells?
Oh, yes, it is. I'll take it, Postman. She's not in right now.
I'm awfully sorry this is late, ma'am. But you see, one of our sorters put it in the regular mail route bag, and I only just discovered it.
Oh, I don't suppose there's any great harm done.
Oh, well, thank you. I hope not. Well, goodbye, ma'am.
Goodbye. I shut the door quickly and stood turning the letter over in my hands, for I had suddenly recognized the writing on the envelope. It was Frank's. And how could he know the name of my private nurse unless they knew each other? George hadn't corresponded with him, I was sure. He was aware of the hatred between us. I quickly ripped the envelope.
Dear Agnes, just a line to let you know of Jean's safe arrival. I think your fears that Sybil saw her and suspects you are groundless, but perhaps it is safest this way. I feel sure that by this time my dear sister has passed, or at any rate is near, the breaking point. I'm coming down next Thursday and will bring a specialist with me. I am certain that when she tells him of her hallucinations, shall we call them, he will have no hesitancy in declaring her insane.
There it was. The whole fiendish scheme. I held all the proof I needed right in my hands. I called George and asked him to come over as quickly as he could. And then I'd barely gotten upstairs when I heard the front door open.
Sybil! Sybil!
Please, Mr. Courtney, she may have fallen asleep. She's still rather weak, you know.
Of course. I understand.
If you and Dr. Randall will make yourselves comfortable, I'll go upstairs and see how she is.
Splendid idea, nurse. Mrs. Kern, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
If only George would come. Now the showdown was at hand, I was frightened. The nearer she came, the more frantically my heart beat. These next few minutes would decide so much for me. And I was alone. I felt sick with terror at having to face Mrs. Curran without George's comforting presence to reassure me, to make me know that everything would be all right. Because if I played my hand wrong now, if I couldn't convince the specialist of my sanity, I might never spend another night in the dark.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I startle you, Mrs. Wells?
Well, I didn't hear you come in.
Your brother and Dr. Randall are in the parlor.
Oh, yes?
Well, don't you want to come down and see them?
We're not leaving this room just yet, Nurse Curran. Not until we settle a few things.
But I don't understand. Is there anything wrong, Mrs. Wells?
No. I'm just curious. Where did you have that trick newspaper printed?
What?
And how did you manage the music that night? Was it a phonograph record played from your room directly into the ventilator?
I don't get what you're talking
Oh,
about.
yes, you do. I've known for almost a week what you were up to, young lady. But I wasn't sure just why you were doing it or who was behind you. I am now.
You're crazy. I felt it all along. You're mad.
Oh, no, my dear. That was your aim, but you didn't succeed. You see this letter? The same stationery as the one I received today. The same handwriting, too. But this was written to you, Mrs. Curran. Fortunately, it wasn't delivered till after you'd left the house.
Give me that.
Oh, no. No. You'll have to kill me to get that. And I'd rather be dead than be in an institution. And we wouldn't want too loud a scene with that specialist downstairs, would we? He's not in my brother's pay, is he?
No. All right. You win. I was working for Frank. He promised me a share in the estate.
Why, I can't believe it. I simply can't believe it.
George. Oh, thank heaven.
Now, Sybil, don't cry. You know she almost had me fooled, Sybil.
Oh, and here's the proof, George. A letter that Frank wrote to her.
Dear Agnes, coming down next Thursday, declaring her insane. Sybil, you'd better go downstairs and bring Dr. Randall and your precious brother up here immediately.
10 minutes before, I'd gone down these steps an old woman. But everything was different now. The shadow had been lifted. I was free again.
Well. My dear sister, Sybil.
Don't you dare sister me, Frank.
Why, Sybil, and here I brought Dr. Randall all this way to see you.
To see me, indeed. To declare me insane so you could get your foul claws on the rest of Father's money.
Sybil, what are you saying?
I don't think I understand, Mrs. Wells.
I told her she was...
Mad? Insane? Yes, I'm sure you did. And it's no fault of yours that I'm not. Dr. Randall, a few weeks ago I was very ill. My brother took advantage of that by planting Nurse Curran with me. She took all her orders from him, and those orders were to drive me insane.
Oh, I never heard of such a thing. I hadn't realized she was quite so badly off as this, Randall.
Oh, there's no use your blustering anymore, Frank. George Adams has written proof upstairs. The letter you sent Mrs. Curran.
Why, I never wrote her my whole life. I never met the girl till today.
Suppose we go and see what this is all about. Well, Courtney?
Oh, of course. As you say, Doctor.
Frank's face was gray. Perspiration beaded his brow as we went back up to my bedroom. George and Mrs. Curran were standing by the window quietly when I opened the door. Here they are, George.
Yes. Thank you, Sybil.
Well, aren't you going to show Dr. Randall the letter?
What letter, Sybil?
The one Frank wrote Mrs. Curran. The one
There isn't any letter, Sybil.
But I gave it to you just before I went downstairs.
Mrs. Wells told me she had definite proof that Mr. Courtney was planning to railroad her.
It's terrible how convincing they can be. Isn't it, Randall? How very convincing.
I see.
George! George!
I could hardly bear to recognize those first signs, Dr. Randall. I've known Sybil for 30 years. She was very dear to me.
What did you do with it? Is it burned or torn into little pieces in your pocket, George? Where's that letter?
But I'm too much of a physician to blind myself to facts. She'll be happy.
Behind those walls, George, those walls where you and Frank put my father.
Come, Mrs. Wells. You'd better come with me.
No, you can't believe them. They're lying. No, please, no.
You'd better take her right to the sanitarium. It's not safe to keep her here another day.
Yes, I'm afraid you're right.
I'll help you with her. We can use my car.
Don't touch me, George. Don't you come near me. Get your hands off me.
Adams, let her go. You seem to excite her unduly. Now, please, Mrs. Wells, take my arm. You know, we want to do what is best for you.
Dr. Randall, please, I swear this on my eternal soul. There was a letter. It was special delivery written by my brother Frank to Nurse Curran.
I wish I could believe you, Mrs. Wells.
Watch your step, Sybil.
Don't be so solicitous, George. I'd rather you kill me than betray me as you have.
If there were one shred of evidence on your side, Mrs. Wells, one slightest bit of proof.
Oh, say, I beg your pardon, Miss Wells. I had to come all the way back again. I forgot to have you sign this slip.
on that special delivery for Mrs. Curran.
Adams, give me those car keys. And turn around. We're going back into that house. I think we've got a few things to discuss.
Shadows and stillness, mystery weaves a spell of strangest fascination, charging the mind with doubts and fears. For mystery is a strange companion, a living memory. In the haunting hour. No, stay where you are. Do not break the stillness of this moment, for this is a time of mystery, a time when imagination is free and moves forward swiftly, silently. This is the haunting hour.
Remember Hugo Carteret? Why, of course you do. The brilliant criminologist and charming gentleman who had such a wonderful flair for solving crimes which carried a hint of the macabre and savored of the supernatural. He died back in the 20s, and they say that everybody from the 400 of Park Avenue to the 400,000 of the Bowery and Hell's Kitchen came to his funeral. Anyway, Hugo Carteret left his memoirs, and the very first chapter deals with an infamous crime which in June of the year 1922 threw all of New York City into an uproar of horror. Such was the case of the Lonesome Corpse. Greystone Park used to be the private estate of old Caleb Greystone, eccentric recluse and incidentally millionaire many times over. When Caleb died, he willed the estate to the city of New York. The city fathers, properly grateful, promptly converted the estate into a park. It was public in that it was open to the public, but it had a private look because a 15-foot wall of polished stone completely surrounded it. One day, back in June of 22, a big car drove up to the only entrance. In the back seat of the limousine was William Marsden, wealthy lawyer and executor of the Greystone estate, and he had come to inspect the ground.
You wait here in the car, Edward.
Yes, Mr. Marsden. Will you be long, sir?
I don't think that's any of your business. I pay you to chauffeur me around, not to ask me questions.
Yes, sir. I was only bringing up the fact that it's getting dark, and you said you had to be at the plaza by 9.
I'm perfectly able to take care of my own business, Edward. I'll mind mine and you mind yours. You wait here in the car till I'm through in the park. Understand?
Yes, Mr. Marsden.
Extra, read all about it. William Marsden, prominent attorney, disappears in darkness of Greystone Park. Week old case, riot and mysteries. Police fail to find clue. Read all about it.
Hey, Joe. Yeah? How do you suppose that big shot lawyer Marsden disappeared? Think his chauffeur had something to do with it?
I don't know, Tom.
I don't get it. He tells his chauffeur to wait, walks into this here park, and never comes out.
Chauffeur hears a scream inside the park, and that's all.
You scared too easy, Tom. That's nice. Just broke my shovel. Well, I have to go over to the tool house and get another one.
But, Joe, the tool house is way over the other end of the park.
So what?
It's getting dark. It ain't healthy to be in this place after dark. Let's knock off, Joe. We can finish digging these flower beds tomorrow.
If we knock off, we'll both be looking for a new gardener job tomorrow. Andrew, the superintendent, told us to finish up tonight, and that's what we got to do.
Look, Joe, don't leave me. I got an idea there's something running around this park we don't know nothing about. When I think of that lawyer Marston,
So, you seen ghosts now, huh, Tom? Well, there ain't no ghost or nothing else that can scare Joe Donetti. You wait for me here. If you see a boogeyman, well, just offer him a drink and ask him to stick around, eh? Extra, Greystone Park claims second victim. Park gardener leaves companion for tool house and never returns. Police call in Hugo Carter at a public demand solution. Read all about it here,
Police headquarters, Sergeant Hogan speaking. What? You saw a light floating around in Greystone Park? What kind of a light? Purple, eh? You see anything else? What? A white ghost walking down the park road, eh? All right. Don't get excited. We'll send a squad car to investigate right away.
Hello, Sergeant Hogan.
Oh, hello, Mr. Carteret. Miss Smith?
Oh, I see you know my special assistant.
Of course he does, Hugo. The sergeant and I are old friends. We met at the policeman's ball.
Keeping you busy these days, Sergeant?
Busy? Mr. Carteret, we sure need your help in this case. The commissioner's going nuts inside. And you ought to hear the double talk coming in over this wire. This Greystone Park business has got the people living around there walking around in circles. They're seeing everything from the king of the pixies to the ghost of my great-grandmother.
I don't wonder. I've been working up a few shivers about it myself.
Is Commissioner Williams in, Sergeant?
Yeah. Go right into his office, Mr. Carteret. He's expecting you.
Thank you.
Here comes another screwball report.
Come on, Ann.
Police headquarters, Sergeant Hogan speaking. What? You heard some kind of animal howling in Greystone Park? What kind of animal?
So Joe Donetti left you to get a new shovel, eh, Farrell? And then a little later, you heard a scream.
Yes, sir. It come from far off, and it must have been Joe.
Oh, hello, Hugo. Miss Smith?
Commissioner?
Well, I guess that'll be all, Farrell. Stay pretty close to home, though. We may need you later.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that was Tom Farrell, the gardener. Hard to get anything out of him. He's so jittery. He's convinced there's some kind of murdering thing running around loose in that park. So is Marsden's chauffeur. And I'm convinced they're both telling straight stories.
I trust you searched the park thoroughly, Commissioner.
Oh, of course I have, Hugo. Had a detail practically scrape every foot of the area with a fine-tooth comb.
And you found nothing, Commissioner Williams?
Nothing. Until yesterday morning.
Oh, you have a clue?
Yes, if you want to call it that, Hugo. But, well, it's almost incredible. Fantastic on the face of it. Hugo, we need your help badly. We're at our wits' ends down here, and I haven't even asked.
Well, naturally, Commissioner, I'd be delighted. There's a touch of the macabre and supernatural here that I find very interesting. Don't you, Anne?
I'm not so sure.
Now then, Commissioner, you said something about a clue.
Yes. Donetti, the missing gardener, was wearing hobnail shoes. The road was soft from the recent rain, and we were able to trace his footsteps as far as they went.
What do you mean, as far as they went?
I mean those footprints stopped dead in the middle of the road.
What?
Right next to Caleb Greystone's tomb in the center of the park. It was just as though some giant bird of prey picked Donetti up and carried him off.
But, my dear Williams, that doesn't make sense.
I know it doesn't, but it happened.
Donetti couldn't vanish like that, unless he had wings.
Maybe he does have wings now.
You know, Anne, I can't get those footprints out of my mind. They interest me.
They scare me.
You In fact, I think I'll stop in at Greystone Park and have a look at them.
You mean now?
Yes.
Oh, but Hugo, it's midnight, and there's something dangerous roaming around in that park. Something deadly. Why not wait until tomorrow in the daylight?
Because the things that happen in Greystone Park, Anne, seem to happen at night. Well, here we are.
Yes. Peaceful, serene Greystone Park. The place that people just hate to leave.
You should have let me drop you at your apartment, Anne. This is no place for a girl.
Oh, no, Mr. Carteret. I'm going right with you.
Well, here's the gate. It's the only entrance or exit. Let's try it. There. Neatly locked with a heavy iron chain and padlock.
The police want to keep people out, and I think it's a wonderful idea.
Either that or they want to keep something in.
The thing in this park couldn't be stopped by chains or padlocks.
Well, they're not going to stop us either. Here, Anne, I'll boost you up to the top of this stone wall and climb up myself. Come on. There you are. How's the view up there?
Oh, lovely.
Now then, Mr. Carteret, let's see what kind of a second-story man you are. I haven't done this since I was a boy. This wall is higher than it looks. You all right, Anne?
Just dandy.
Well, now, I'll drop down and then catch you. All right, Anne. Just let yourself go.
All right, but don't miss.
There you are.
Listen, what was that?
Only the wind.
Oh, I thought I heard someone calling.
Why, Anne, you're trembling.
You're telling me. Hugo, where are we going?
Up this road until we reach the place where that missing gardener's footprints stop.
Right next to that big square tomb in the center of the park, according to Commissioner Williams.
Mm-hmm. That's the Greystone Mausoleum. All that remains of old Caleb Greystone, the philanthropist, lies within it. And that's the statue of old Caleb himself, standing on the roof of the tomb.
How nice. I hope you realize that William Marsden and Joe Donetti walked along this same road at night. And they did...
What's wrong?
I felt a cold hand on my face.
That isn't a hand, it's a leaf on the end of a twig. Poor kid. You're frightened, aren't you?
Who, me? I'm scared to death. I'm so scared my hair's standing on end. It's ruined my permanent. Oh, Hugo.
What is it, Anne?
That statue on the top of the mausoleum. The statue of Caleb Greystone.
Yes? Well, what about it?
It moved.
What? Now, wait a minute, Anne.
Hugo, I tell you it moved. I saw it lift one of its arms and turn its head in the moonlight.
Now, Anne, it's just that you're on edge. What you saw was a mirage brewed out of moonlight and your own imagination. That statue's made of stone. Stone statues don't move. Come on, we leave the road and go down this hollow. Well, here we are. Here's the tomb. And here's Donetti's footprints, just as the commissioner said. They're pretty faint, but... Wait a minute.
What is it, Hugo?
Look up at that statue of Caleb Greystone. Up there on the mausoleum roof.
What about it?
Well, when we saw it on the other side of the hollow, it faced toward the road, didn't it?
Why, yes.
Now it's facing away from the road.
And it did move, Hugo. It did move.
More than that, Anne. While we lost sight of it down in that hollow, it turned completely around.
The strange phenomenon of the restless statue intrigued Hugo Carteret no end. Like a hound after his quarry, he scrambled to the roof of the mausoleum and made a thorough examination of both the statue and the roof in the moonlight. He reported his findings to Police Commissioner Williams, and the next morning, in the light of day, they revisited the scene.
You two up there had better be careful. That roof's slippery.
Oh, we'll be all right, Anne. Here, Commissioner. Watch what happens when I grasp this statue.
Yeah, interesting, Hugo. It turns loosely on that upright bar.
Yes. And I've no doubt that old Caleb Greystone is turning down below in his tomb at this sacrilege we're committing on his image. You know what, Commissioner?
What?
This statue isn't marble through and through. It's merely a marble surface on a light aluminum base. A man could lift it right off this support and walk off with it over his shoulder.
Yes, he could. Well, not that it proves anything. But these scratches on this polished stone roof, eh? Almost looks as though they led to the door of the crypt on the other end of the roof.
It's hard to tell. I tried the door of the crypt last night. It was locked. Yeah, it's still locked.
Hey, it's a massive tomb. Big enough to take care of 20 dead millionaires.
Yes, you'd think old Caleb Greystone would be pretty lonely down there.
And his condition to be lonely anywhere. Well, you go. Where do we go from here?
Let's have a talk with the park superintendent, Commissioner. His office is over there on the left. Maybe he'll be able to throw a little light on the proceedings. As the old saying goes, you never can tell.
Mr. Andrews, this is Hugo Carteret, the criminologist, and his special assistant, Miss Smith.
How do you do?
Andrews, how do you do?
Oh, yes, I've heard of you. How do you do?
As superintendent of the Greystone Park, Mr. Andrews, we thought you might give us a little information on that tomb.
Always glad to help the police, Commissioner Williams.
Thank you. Now then, has that statue of Caleb Greystone always faced the road?
Why, yes, as far as I know.
It doesn't now, Mr. Andrews. You can see for yourself through the window.
Why, bless my soul, you're right, Mr. Carter. Well, how do you suppose that happened?
That's what we hope to find out.
Interesting idea to build a statue of yourself and put it on your own mausoleum.
Mr. Greystone had it made in memory of himself as a reminder to the public that he had converted his private estate into a park for their benefit.
Mm-hmm. Somewhat of an egotist, huh?
And from what the newspaper files say, eccentric. They practically accused old Caleb of dealing in black magic and selling his soul to the devil.
Well, I understand the whole family was rather peculiar, Mr. Andrews.
Well, yes, I suppose it's true. There were all sorts of rumors. Old Caleb was the eldest son, and he hated the rest of his family. Cheated them out of the family fortune, they say. It's said that he drove his own brother Arthur into poverty.
Yes, I remember the case. Arthur Greystone disappeared. Bureau of Missing Persons never did locate him.
Mr. Andrews, that mausoleum out there is a pretty massive affair. Is old Caleb the only one buried there?
Yes. As I said, he hated the rest of the family. He specified in his will that only he was to be buried there.
That wasn't very hospitable of him.
So old Caleb has that whole place all to himself, huh?
What are you getting at, Hugo?
Yes, that's what I'd like to know, too.
Oh, nothing. Nothing at all. It's just that these cases of abnormal psychology interest me. Yes, Commissioner, they interest me no end. Come in. Oh, hello, Anne.
Hello, Hugo. Relaxing at the piano, I see.
Yes. Would you like me to stop?
No, I like that melody you're playing.
So do I. You know, music brings a certain clarity to the jumbled mind. It resolves things. It's a mental lullaby. Where have you been, Anne?
Down at police headquarters. Poor Commissioner Williams.
Why poor Commissioner Williams?
Every newspaper in town is clamoring either for a solution to this Greystone Park mystery or a new police commissioner.
Yes, I know. It's a pity. You know, Anne, Frank Williams is not only a gentleman, he's our friend. I think the time has come for us to try and crack this case.
The time has come, all right, but how?
Well, we've seen the outside of Caleb Greystone's tomb. It might be interesting to have a look at the inside.
The inside?
Yes. I've got an idea that's where our solution lies.
But how are you going to get in? That door of the crypt on the roof is locked tight.
Well, Anne, if I may boast a little, I have a certain skill with burglar tools.
Yes, I know, but you can't go there in broad daylight and burglarize somebody's mausoleum.
I don't propose to go there in broad daylight.
You mean we're going tonight?
I mean, I'm going tonight. I'm taking you home right after dinner.
Oh, no, you don't. You need someone to hold your flashlight. And besides, I'm just mad about mausoleum.
lovely evening. And outside of this storm, it's just as black.
Oh, look out, Anne. This stone roof is slippery. Careful now. And the door of the crypt is right over here. Now keep your flashlight trained right on this lock. But wait a minute. How did that happen?
How did what happen?
Why, the door of the crypt is unlocked.
Unlocked?
Yes. Somebody's been here ahead of us.
Oh, dear. It's awfully dark down there. What are we going to do now?
We're going inside.
But there may be someone in there.
But I'll find out. You wait out here, Anne.
Oh, no, Hugo Carteret. I'm not going to stand out here alone. I'm going in with you.
Have it your own way. We'll take this hammer with us. It may come in handy. Careful now. There are stairs leading down into the crypt. You stay close to me.
Hugo, I'm practically hugging you to death right now. Oh, it's cold in here.
Well, it's dry at any rate.
It's dark as pitch. I can't see a thing.
Here, Anne, you take the hammer. Let me have the flashlight. Now, let's have a look.
Oh, Hugo, look. There are two men lying there on the floor. They must be...
Yes. The two men who disappeared in Greystone Park. William Marsden and Joe Donetti.
Are they?
Yes, I'm afraid they are. Oh, poor devils. Nobody would think of looking for them in here.
How were they killed?
They've got deep red marks around their throats. Typical of some kind of strangling cord.
Oh, it's horrible. Why were they brought here? Why would anybody want to do a thing like this?
The motive, Anne, like everything else in this tragic case, was abnormal. I'm beginning to see now why. Anne, listen.
Footsteps on the roof. Someone's up there.
Yes.
He stopped by the crypt door. Hugo, do you think it's the restless statue?
Perhaps. I do know it's the killer. And he's coming down the steps. Put out that flashlight and flatten yourself against the wall.
Good evening. Oh, come now. I know you're in here. I can see in the dark better than you think. I have eyes like a cat. I saw you coming through the trees. I left the crypt door open for you. You walked right in, you fools. You walked right in.
Who are you?
Why, my name is Arthur Greystone. This is the Greystone tomb. I live here with my friend.
So you killed these two men?
Yes, it was lonesome here. I wanted my brother Caleb over there in the casket to have company. He wanted to sleep alone in this big, beautiful mausoleum. It was so selfish of him, so selfish. But now he has two others to sleep with him. And soon he'll have four.
You took the statue of your brother off the supporting rod, didn't you, Arthur? It was light enough to carry. You hid it here in the tomb and posed as your brother's statue. In the dark, your victims couldn't see that the statue was alive. You dropped a cord around their necks as they passed below.
You're very clever, my friend. No, I wouldn't move if I were you. I have the strangling cord here in my hand, and I'm very good at using it.
Why did you do all this?
My brother Caleb cheated me in life. Drove me into poverty. Then he tried to cheat me even in death. He built this tomb and willed that only he would sleep here.
This is your idea of revenge, filling his tomb with sleeping companions.
Yes, I waited years to get even. Caleb wanted to be alone, but now he'll never be alone. He'll never be able to realize his dying wish. Well, this talk has been very pleasant. Yes, indeed, but now we must get to work. I'll take you first, young lady. Please don't try to resist. I assure you I'm very strong. And really, I don't want to make you suffer.
Look out, Anne! I tried to blind you with your flashlight, will you? You fool, I'll hold it. I kill you with my bare hands! Oh, yeah. I'm stronger than you, do you hear? Oh, nice work, Anne. You handle a hammer like a carpenter.
Oh, Hugo, I'm afraid I killed him.
No, you just stunned him, that's all, Anne. I'll tie him up in his own cord in a moment. But first, let's have a good look at him with this flashlight. Lift that white hood of his, will you, Anne?
Hugo, it's Tom Farrell, the gardener.
And so ended the case of the Lonesome Corpse, and another chapter in the memoirs of Hugo Carteret. Arthur Greystone had disappeared, only to reappear close to his brother's mausoleum as Tom Farrell the gardener, a convenient alias. And the city of New York breathed a certain relief when this murderer, obsessed and poisoned by his macabre idea of revenge, finally went to the chair.
From shadows and stillness, mystery weaves a spell of strangest fascination, charging the mind with doubts and fears. For mystery is a strange companion, a living memory. In the haunting hour.